actually on time. RVX.gg, for those of you who want to know, if you go to the overview here, it says session time breakdown. And the session time breakdown says at 11 we do a welcome, but that I may or may not be on. I'm definitely trying to be on at 11 o'clock. But the first segment doesn't start till 11:10. That's so you guys can come on in and get all set up and good to go. I'm really excited about today because we're going to cover a lot of stuff. And so I'm going to try to resist the urge to talk about it before 11:10 because I know people know that we start right at 11:10. Please don't show up at 11:10. I would rather you think it started at 11 and complain about it not starting on time. So that you're here on time. Of course, you can always watch the video because of the wonder of the internet. I mean, it is a pretty great thing. I did try to export the videos, but they're taking really long to export. So those should be up. I'm considering actually exporting the videos. I'm not using any Discord right now. And I will be exporting videos. I was a little worried. People are getting worried. No, we're definitely going to have we have a really big session to do today. We're going to cover a lot of stuff. Please take a look at the revised calendar and the revised schedule. I've been updating it significantly every day, adding new stuff. In fact, just 5 minutes ago, that's why I was late. I went ahead and created the Shell Survivor Guide and the links and the Vim Survivor Guide. And honestly, you really only need to memorize about 5 or 6 things to survive in Vim. So if you did the Vim tutorial, awesome. That's obviously the goal. But if you did not, you can go to here and you can go read about the Vim survival skills. So here's VI survival. I call it VI survival because it works for Vim or VI. People joke about how hard it is to exit VI, blah, blah, blah. Action. I'm covering this ahead of time because this was from last week. It looks like my table failed. I'm going to have to go fix it. I literally just finished that just today. So the action description, it shows you the basic keys that you need to use. In fact, I'm going to fix that. See if I can fix it in 2 minutes. Can I fix it in 2 minutes? My table is failing me. Why doth my table fail me? Alright, let's try that now. And let's go ahead and build that. Build Vim. And let me go see the preview of it. Where's the preview? Here we go. Vim survival skills. Oh, that's better. Alright, so I can save that. I realize we need to talk about why I don't like Emacs for beginners in particular. I don't know if we covered it really well. We had some people asking that question this morning. The short answer is it's not on everything. And people say that's not a compelling reason. I'm like, it is for people who work on multiple computers. But if you work on one computer all the time and you're guaranteed to never need to work on multiple computers, go ahead, use Emacs. Knock yourself out. Have fun. The rest of us will have skills that translate to any computer, anytime. But if you insist, you just have fun on that one computer. So let's see. Means business today. What? I got a fancy shirt on? To be honest, it was a little colder today. It's crazy. It dropped like 40 degrees yesterday. It's nuts. This weather. Makes you appreciate the coffee even that much more. And the best way to go study the day's book content before time. Watch the stream before you explain the basics and then do more research after. There is no best way. Traditionally, a flipped environment means that you do the research before and then you come here with questions. But, you know, people do what they can do. Hey, people do what they can, and I am going to meet you wherever you are. I will say this, for this first few weeks, I am going to be doing more hand holding than usual, and I don't mean that to be pejorative. I don't mean that to talk down to anybody. I just figure that there's a lot more going on in the getting started section than there is these other sections. Something else I need to talk about, some changes. Welcome everyone, and we are officially started now, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Yes, it's going to get a lot harder, and I wanted everybody to notice this. So I have done something that I may change my mind on later. I know you've probably got TMUX, you probably have TMUX cheat sheets, and they're all probably wrong. And I'm going to talk about why that is so important that you at least consider the possibility of configuring your TMUX like it were a screen session. And we're going to talk all about that in due time. We have very little time today to cover it all, but I do need to tell you about some big changes to the schedule. One of them is the getting started section. I don't know if you saw, but it's now organized differently. It's more like an outline. And you'll notice a bunch of stuff on day 5 is different. I put learning to learn on day 5. You'll also notice that learning to learn has lost a week. And those of you who know that how hard I prepared for that particular week know how hard that was for me to remove. However, I feel like almost all of that content can be covered entirely by you as long as I mention it here. There will be some conversations we can have by it. But there's just so much actual technical content to cover. And I think that in this first week, and we're going to talk about it more for one segment on Friday, and we're going to remove that. So you probably like that because that means more time to do coding, more time to do installing Linux. In fact, I added 1 full week to Go and 1 full week to Eloquent JavaScript, and that is it. I'm keeping knowledge as structure with source because we're going to learn Pandoc, YAML, JSON, and a bunch of JQ, how to make your own sites and stuff like that. And that actually flows really nicely into this. There's another thing missing here too that I think El Ramingo will probably notice if he keeps looking at it. And this is a tough decision for me. I've dropped the networking week from the beginner boost. I'm going to say something that a lot of you are going to disagree with. You do not need a full 40-hour week of networking knowledge to start your beginner boost. I just feel like that's way too much time to focus on networking, and I was setting up all different sorts of things. So we're actually going to talk about networking tomorrow as well, while we talk about VPNs and IPs and that kind of thing. Okay. And by the way, if you do want to get into the weeds on networking, Headfirst Networking is very good for that. And there's lots of other resources for that if you want to go down that route. Most of this boost, to be completely honest, is mostly about development and getting your Linux system running. And if you look at the occupations, the overview has the targeted occupations, and the targeted occupations here are frankly, they're light on networking if you apply it to every single thing. Everyone knows these are about networking. They don't need to know, really in-depth networking. They know how to do their Wi-Fi anyway. We're going to talk about, so tomorrow we put that. Enough to talk about that. We got lots to cover. Sysadmin is not light on networking, but again, the point of the target occupations is to find the things in common, not the things that really need it. Okay, so sysadmin is obviously pretty heavy on networking. Security analyst, definitely heavy on networking. Web developer, they need to know networking, but they don't need to know as much networking as everything else, right? I'm talking about full stack, right? They need to know TCP/IP, they need to be able to do WebSockets, they need to know how the web works, but they don't need, the full deep dive into a full week of networking. We're talking about 40, 50 hours of just talking about networking. A web developer could be fine to just understand the basics. So again, the target occupations are there to guide us. If something like really equally applies to all of those things, then it will be included. Networking was right on the cusp, and I still think it applies. I just don't think we need a full week of it. I do think we need those. We're gonna need those weeks for C. We're gonna need them for Go. We're gonna need them, frankly, for JavaScript when we get into coding. And JavaScript also covers a bunch of networking stuff. There's an entire HTTP section in the JavaScript book. Okay. Yeah, and we couldn't even do a really deep dive in 1 week. All right. So, okay. Yeah. And most people don't, that's fine. And I don't want you to feel like you need to do that. All right. I'm going to try to look away from the chat a little bit more as we get going. So today's week is week week 1, day 4. Dude, it's all becoming a big blur to me. So here we go. We're going getting started, and this should get us to day 4. Okay, so we're going to start with Vim config. We have one segment to do this, and then we're going to try to do our .files in the same thing. So we're going to go ahead and configure our Vim. If you were a good doobie, does anybody know that term, doobie? What's a doobie? A doobie is from an ancient children's show. Anyway, but if you did your homework, you've been at least through Vim Tutor, at least a good part of it. So other than the survival guide, which I can show you real quickly. So just to remember the Vim survival skills. Oh, look, they display properly now. Okay, this is all you need to know about Vim. I am not a smoker, and it's doobie is not what you think. I think I got it right. Is it doobie or zooby? Does anybody know Captain Kangaroo? Was it even? I don't even know if it was Captain Kangaroo. It was the other one. All right, here we go. So, what am I trying to remember here? Oh, I want to show you this stuff from here so you can kind of read it better. Okay, I know I'm kind of going slow today. Here we go. Configure Vim. So this is Vim survival guide. Let's go back to the Vim survival guide. So just remember these things about Vim. H, J, K, and L are move up, left, down, up, and right. I is for insert. And people who know me, yeah, he definitely was. Arrow keys. So the arrow keys are about moving and inserting. Okay. And so you see here, move in insert mode. Oh, my shirt's hurting your eyes. If you're a Vim newbie, the arrow keys, just own it. Okay. It's okay to use the arrow keys in insert mode. In fact, it's much easier to get around if you're just doing the insert mode. So you really only have this stuff to memorize if you're a beginner. You need to know the escape key or the control left bracket as escape. And you need to be able to do ZZ to exit and ZQ. And I use ZZ and ZQ because they're easier to remember than the colon Q stuff, in case you're wondering. All right, so escape, shift ZZ, shift ZQ, those will get you out. That's the survival skills. But we're not gonna go into all of that today. What we're gonna do is we're gonna help you configure your Vim so that it has line numbers and all that other good stuff. And I'm going to show you how to pilfer, which means to steal from other people's. Yeah. So here we go. Review the Vim learning resource. We already did that. So back to day 4. Configuring Vim. So configure a local Vim user settings. All right. Now, I need everybody to be patient with me who knows about how to do this. Okay. I'm going to speak to the beginners. To everyone, I just want you to know that we are going to come up with a way to save all this stuff. Okay. But for right now, I just want you to get your head around how to customize your Vim and where the files live and all of that stuff. So, and this requires me to introduce this idea of .files. So if you cd into your home directory, so here I am in home, I just did cd to enter to go there. Now I can do ls-a, and you'll see lots of stuff in here, right? And I have a lot of junk in here that doesn't get used. And all of these .files are hidden. They're called hidden files. That's why I did an ls -a, which is in the shell survival guide now, which is now published. So you can go up there and look at all the commands from yesterday if you click on that link. And so these are all these files, and these are all configuration files. Thankfully, there's been an effort to kind of centralize the files around two directories, .local and .config. And I don't know that we're actually going to go through the standard Linux file system hierarchy, but it's just good to know that it exists. And you can see some files here for vimrc, Vim plugins, Vim info, Vim. You see these Vim related files. Okay, the one that we're going to concern ourselves with today, right now, is called vimrc. It's .vimrc. And what the .vimrc file does is it's the most standard, most universal way to configure your Vim. So let's go ahead and see what's in mine. So first of all, let me show you that my file isn't really there, and it's kind of a spoiler for what's coming ahead. So if I do a long listing on the file, .vimrc, we learned all these commands yesterday, then I can see that the file actually is not really there. It's got these weird permissions, and it points to another file. It points to a file that's living in my config directory, in my long, deep, complicated fin. Yes, it's called a symbolic link. We're going to cover those today. Now, don't worry about a symbolic link right now. Right now, all we're going to do is work on the local file as is. Later in the day, we're gonna set up our config repo if we have time. By the way, if we don't have time to cover everything, I'll just bump some of it to tomorrow, and we'll be good. So here we go. Let's go ahead and open up with our newfound VI skills. We're gonna open VI. Yours might be Vim, by the way. VI should still work. In case you're wondering, my VI is just mapped to Vim because I'm so used to typing VI for everything. So it's faster. So VI, and then I'm in the home directory, so I don't need to worry about that. And I can do .vimrc and open it up, and you see this big, long, fancy file, right? Now, you might not have that much stuff going on. And in fact, you probably don't. So what I want to do, if you'll permit me really quickly, is to go into an account that I've created. That basically what I'm doing right now is I'm connecting to an account. Oops, what happened there? There we go. So I'm connecting to account. Yes, you should not have a vimrc to start. So I'm actually changing in. So now, guys, I'm in a brand new account that doesn't have anything. So watch what happens when I run VI. So so if you guys, let's take a look. Here's a better account for you to look at. Does your account look more like this one? See, this is an empty account, right? A brand spanking new account. So you don't have a vimrc by default. So thank you for the reminder there. And what do you have? I have a Vim info. The Vim info file is created while you use VI. Okay. So we're going to go ahead, let's talk about the shirt. And we're going to go ahead and make one. Okay. Now we can do our good old touch command, touch Vim info, just to make sure you're in the right place. So we touch the Vim info. Oh, wait, wrong file. Vimrc. I'm going to push the up arrow, back, and then I'm going to vimrc. Now we have a vimrc file, and we're going to edit this vimrc file. Okay. And so now we have this empty file and a brand new VI session that has not been configured at all. And you can see it doesn't have line numbers or anything, but we're going to get all of that. So the first thing, in fact, let's do that. Let's add line numbers. Okay. So so this file is usually filled with things that you would use down here by typing colon. So set space NU, we covered that a little bit yesterday. And you see now I have a line number, right? But wouldn't it be great if we had that all the time? So we're going to add it. So I tap I to do insert mode, and then set, type the word set and NU. I am a fan of putting the full, I didn't do it, but I'm a fan of generally putting the full name in my config. Can you think about why? Because it's easier to read later. You won't be as confused. If you really are just learning, you can add a comment in here. And by the way, the language that we're using here is called Vim script. But you don't need to learn VimScript. You don't need to stress about not knowing it. You're going to spend very little time in VimScript. In fact, the better you are at VI, the less you need to use VimScript, and the more you're using your magic wands. I hope you guys learned your magic wands. I know they're pretty advanced. But after you've learned everything else about VI, make sure you learn the magic wands. In fact, at the recommendation of Og and others, I will be submitting a pull request to the Vim tutor to add the many things that are missing from it that I think really need to be there. I'm almost positive they're going to reject it by saying, that's too advanced. We don't want to burden it with that. And if they do, I'm going to fork Vim and create my own, because I'm sick and tired of having newbies, beginners, not learn this stuff properly. So the number we can say here is say turn on line numbering. I made a very bad background choice today, apparently. So let me actually fix that opacity. Let me turn my opacity up a little bit. There we go. All right. So you still can't read it. It's just stupid. You know why? Oh, I know why. Because my terminal scheme is not very good, right? In fact, let me look at my other one. Just give me a sec here. I gotta look it up. I have to look up what I have in my own, because I don't remember it either, guys. Vimrc. Here's all the different things you can put in here. I'm gonna have this in another window so I can remind myself what to add. And you don't need to add all of these things. There it is, color scheme. Okay, so probably one of the first things you're gonna want to do is okay. So here we have. There's no plugins for Kubernetes that I know. You have to go find those. I'm sorry. You can ask around on the chat. So as you can see, my color scheme doesn't work very well. So let's change that. Let's change the color scheme. You're like, well, how do I learn all of these things? I even have to look up how to spell it again. Color scheme. Oh wait, color scheme is not a set. Okay, it didn't change colors. So let's go back here. Color scheme. And elf lord is pretty powerful. Let's try Pablo, and we'll save that. So, and by the way, how did I save it? How did I save it without leaving? This is another command that I should probably teach you. It's called the directory is the home directory. Okay, so it's escape shift ZZ or :W if you know it. If you've been through Vim Tutor, then you know that :W saves the file. And I don't have :W in the survival manual, so if you didn't do the Vim Tutor, you don't know it yet. And I have another problem too I'm going to show you about later. I can't navigate the shell because you can't. We're going to talk about it later. I don't want to do that right now. I'm going to try to. Hey guys, watch Control L clears my screen, but don't do it. Do you know why it closed my screen? Because I'm using Emacs mode and I'm changing to VI mode right now, and I just lost everybody. But I'm doing that so I can survive until I show you how to do it. So now I have better colors. You can read the colors, right? So this is another setting you can make. And don't worry, I'm not going to go through every single setting right now. I am going to tell you, though, that the best way to get started with VI is to steal somebody else's settings file. What one did you use? Did you change? Did you save it and then reopen it? Save it and then reopen it. So yeah, if your colors don't change, just make sure you save and reopen it, and that should change your color schemes. There are a lot of color schemes. Okay, so one of the things you really need to get eventually familiar with is the X command line, which is by typing :. You see that? See that? Now I have a colon down here on the left, and now I can practice different things. So you can do this. You can do set. Actually, watch. You can do color scheme, tab, right? And then you can do tab. See that? See that? I'm looking for all those different ones. Tab. I can try all the ones. Dalek is kind of cool. And you can actually test them without saving them. So you can go to Dalek. Let's try Dalek. Boom. There's the colors for Dalek. All right. Color, tab. Oops, not color. Color. Color scheme, space, tab. Let's try Elf Lord. elf tab. It's a good, good old tab. Elf Lord. Now we have, ooh, that's nice, right? I like that one. I might have to keep that one. It has better comments. The comments are more visible. So, in fact, I'm going to change my back right now, because I just saw how much better it looks. I go back and forth between those two. You probably want to set your background to dark too. That's just a common thing. So let's go ahead and add that. And there are so many things to add here. It takes you, this is one of the things that will take you, the better part of your Linux career. Yes, it goes into home. Yep. So if it's not in there, he's telling the tilde is home directory, guys. Background equals dark. And so let's go ahead and do this again. We open it up. Okay. And there is so much to learn about VI. It's just VI by itself is like something you will be constantly learning through the next 20 years. You'll find something new. I mean, it took me literally 20 years to finally master Vim script, and not master it even, just to be able to write my own plugins. And I've written my own plugin for, I didn't write the whole thing from scratch. I modified an existing plugin for Pandoc, Markdown, and things like that. All right, so we need to move on to another topic. But before we leave the vimrc, I just want to end by saying the best way to find a good vimrc is to steal it from somebody else. But you now know that you don't just need to put their vimrc. Please don't do this. Okay, people do this when they're beginners. They don't trust their own skills, so they go find somebody else's vimrc and they put it in there and they don't even look at it. You can do that. I'm not going to judge you if you do that. But what's better is for you to go read the vimrc and say, oh yeah, I want line numbering. Ooh, I don't like relative line numbers. By the way, do you know what those look like? Check this out. So when you do set relative numbers, this is what you get, like this. Some people like this. I don't. I especially don't like this on a stream because I can't tell people can't tell me what line number something's on. That's called relative line numbers. I'm going to scream through this and tell you all the possibilities. And you can look at mine. Mine is in my config directory, but I encourage you to share in Discord and find each other's. Yeah, it's called stealing or legal borrowing. It's very common, actually. It's a part of the culture for us to share each other's config files. That's part of the whole .files idea, which we're going to get to soon. So ruler, I don't even remember what ruler is. So I'll have to go look. Expand tab. Expand tab turns your tabs into spaces. Tab stops, I like 2 space indent. Not everybody does. Shift width 2, smart indent, smart tab, auto config. Now, if you want to actually know what all of these things are, let me tell you, my vimrc is on GitLab, yes, and it is here. Here's all of my configs. But I encourage you to not copy them. If you copy them, copy pieces of them and add them to your own config files. Okay. Don't try to emulate my configuration. That's a really important message for today. I don't want you to do what I am doing. I want you to do your own thing and build your own config files. And I have to tell you that is a big departure from how I used to do it. Well, in the lab, I was forced to create a situation where I pre-configured Vim and everything so that when people sat down, they could be productive with VI. But we have the luxury in this situation to actually allow you to go ahead and do each thing. So the next thing we're going to do here is we have soft tabs here. Thanks. And we have smart indent, auto indent, text width 73. I cannot emphasize how much I believe you should have a maximum text width of 73. That gives you 4 or 5 characters for line numbers and stuff. I don't want backups. I don't want the swap files to get left around. I want the last status to be 0. I don't even remember what some of these are. But by the way, if you want to look at each one of them, you can do this. You can do man vim and look through it, right? It tells you all about Vim. But more importantly than this, you can do this. Okay, watch. While VI is running, you can do colon help. Okay, it's easy to get lost when you do this. If you get lost, just exit. Okay, so if you do :help from within Vim, then you get this. All right, so again, using VI to learn about VI. Who would have thought? You know, they don't need a web page here. In this case, the Vim tutor is the best tutorial because you're using VI, and the help itself requires you to use VI. Okay, so :help from within Vim. It'll tell you what to do and everything, and it'll teach you how to follow links. It'll teach you how to close, you know, using their method, :q. You're going to see a lot of :q. I'm not a fan of it, but that's what a lot of people use. You can have mouse support if you want. I don't use mouse support. Again, you're going to read a lot of things in Vim that are not going to be compatible with VI. And that's up to you to eventually determine which things you want to keep. I strongly advise against using Vimisms, and I've written about that, because they won't be on a system someday when you try to log into it. The whole point of using VI is so you're productive on any system. Otherwise, just use Emacs, right? And install it when you need it. So here we go. It's like all there's the tutor, there's actually, I think that's the same one, if I remember right. There's a shift. I don't remember the shift command for this. Oh, there it is. Vim tutor. Okay, blah, 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 blah. It tells you all the stuff here. So, but what I was telling you about is that you can actually use this to learn about all of the different settings. Okay. And there's thousands, but I don't want you to stress about it. Okay. The only thing you should take away from this is, I want line numbers. I'm going to add line numbers. I want color. I'm going to add color. I want, you know what I'm saying, and add things as you go. Don't stress about it for any other reason than that. I'm going to continue a summary of what's in my file very quickly, because this is video. You can refresh it just to give you a sense of what I remember is in here. I mean, I've set this things up so long ago. A lot of it I don't even remember. This is a very important one. So this Vim info line right here, this one prevents truncated yanks, deletes, and etc. I've actually did a video on this. But you can actually copy and paste between different files in VI, and if you don't set that properly, you'll be very surprised, because you will have deleted something from a previous file, go to paste it in the next file, and it will have been truncated and unrecoverable. So that is a very important line to add. List characters. This is kind of fun. So if you do set list, it'll show you your characters, kind of like where the line returns are, and stuff. In case, so look right here, I can see I have a space at the end of my line. Sometimes that might be important to know, so that's nice to have. Set no list to turn that off. Matching parens, I am not a fan of bracket matching. If you do that, then what happens is it'll like jump around, and I don't like that. I don't like this show match either. Manual folding. So folding is when you can like hide stuff on in your screen if you want. I'll let you read about that. These are all the different format options. I went to the great effort to make each one have its own comment, so that you can decide whether you want it or not. Again, this level of configuration is not necessarily desirable for you, but this is the kind of thing that if you did copy it and you read the comments, I'm like, okay, that sounds reasonable. That's totally fine. And that's how I did most of it. Most of my vimrc is ripped off from other people. So if platform equals Mac, it's like I have extra things for the Mac. I have platform as an environment variable, by the way, that's not automatically set. You have to set it yourself, which I do in my vimrc. So I'm keep going down here. We're doing pretty good on today's time. So set hidden, memory management, set history equals 100. I don't need more than that many commands in my history. Syntax enable, make sure you turn this one on if you want colors to show. I think it's on by default, but I went ahead and put it on. I added file type plugins. And this stuff down here is very, very hard for you to understand. I don't expect you to understand what's going on here. I'll tell you generally what it's doing. This is using a plugin manager called Plug. It is the only plugin manager that maintains your plugins in a separate directory. That's what you saw when you saw my .plugin files. If your eyes glaze over on that, don't worry. But how to do colors? So colors are... Yeah, syntax enable fixture issue. Okay, so here we have set background. So let's do that. Let's actually do that. So set, is it syntax enable? What was it? Let me make sure I add it, because I forgot it. syntax. There it is. Okay, so syntax enable. All right. I think mine was on by default, but skip defaults. Let's skip defaults. Oh, that's another thing. So I set this because I wanted to force it to use all of mine instead. So you might not want to do that, but you know, again, these are very personal things. So color. So set the numbers, turn the background color on, set it to dark, and then change the color scheme. If you want to sample your colors again, do colon and then color tab space tab 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 tab. Some of these are like really scary. Blue. Ooh. Make it stop. All right, so you see what I'm saying? So you got enough on that. Well, we need to wrap up on this, so I can move on. But what this does here is this uses the curl program to download the plugin manager called Plug, and then you can use plugins. Plugins are out of the scope of today's conversation, but just know that plugins are an essential part of Vim. You don't need a lot of them. So we will talk about plugins as we go through. So when we do the Go stuff and the C stuff and the JavaScript stuff, we will go ahead and add different plugins. Okay. When it comes time to do plugins, at that point I'm gonna kind of start recommending that you just copy and paste this stuff unless you have extremely advanced knowledge of how to do your own plugin manager, because what this will do is it will enable you to have plugins without any other additional installation. This lines right here, they sense whether you have the plugin manager, and if you don't, it installs it, and then it uses the plugins. And down here it says, hey, if you don't have the plugin manager, just punt and do the best you can. But if you do, go ahead and do that. And that's nice when you want to copy your vimrc file to another computer, say you're on PicoCTF, or hack the box some system over there and you want to move it around. So portability is a big consideration when you're setting up your configurations across the board. And so yeah, let me just say some things about that. Down here is me like tweaking, kind of Groovebox is good. Yeah, you have to install it though. So down here we have some extra things. I wanted to set some different file types. So I want when it sees the .profile, I want it to think it's an sh file. So it does the syntax right. So that's what's happening there. Down here we have some extra syntax rules that I've customized. This is actually Vim script, probably not necessary, but you can do that. You can change anything about. You can write your own plugin eventually. And last page. Oh, this is a nice line. So this line remembers where you were and then pulls you back up to that spot. And can I suggest this? If you put pane, I actually activated VI navigation for pane switching. When and if you use the panes, I don't like panes. I don't use them. Panes are splitting your VI up into multiple pane windows. But you usually don't want to do that. Usually you want to do that with TMUX instead. And what do we got? So we have function keys. I have a bunch of function keys set. So one of my function keys, again, I have to push F here to practice this. So F1 changes my line numbering. F2 shows me down here, it shows me the syntax type of the thing I'm in currently, so I can write my plugins better. It's something that would not be useful to you. Paste toggle F3. So remember that set paste stuff? We haven't hit it yet, but you will. What that does is it changes it so that you're in paste mode. Cursor line. So cursor line's annoying. I probably should get rid of that one. This just gives you a line, so it shows you where you're on. If you want to turn spelling off, you can turn it on and off, so keep it from annoying you. And you can change your different indentation lines. So, and this is something I added. Can I strongly recommend that you add this, at least at first. This section right here forces you to use H, J, K, and L. So by doing that, it disables your arrow keys. So if you want to take off the training wheels and force yourself to use the arrow keys, add this section to your vimrc. And then if we don't want to use escape :W to say what is the other combo, like Shift ZZ, there isn't one that I know of. :w is the only way I know to write without leaving. That's the only one I know. Maybe there's another one, but that's the only one I know of. I use :w all the time. So :w, guys, :w saves a file without leaving it. Okay, so if you want to like save all your changes up to that point, you can do that. It's not a survival skill, but you should have covered that in the Vim tutor. All right, and you guys are going to develop your own style, and that's fine, just as long as the style doesn't stop you from being productive on another system that just has plain old VI someday. Which is why you won't find me teaching you visual mode. Visual mode is a mistake, if you ask me, to learn as a beginner, because visual mode, by the way, is Control V, and then you go down like this, and then you push, capital I, and then space, whatever, and then when you save it, it does it to everything. Okay. I don't like visual mode because it's not a VI command. There's other ways to do that. :X is save and exit, but don't say time. Yeah, there's lots and lots of ways to exit and save. So I'm just sticking with the one way that I find is the easiest to type. But there are lots of other ways. Down here, this is actually really kind of important when you're organizing. If you put RTP like this, it will add these other files, and it will use those too. So this is nice if you want to actually have maybe some private Vim configurations, and maybe you want to share with the world your Vim configuration in your .files, but you don't want to give up every single thing that you have. Some of it's very personal or meant for just your usage. And if you want to separate those two things out in your .files, which is a good way to think, that way you can share one particular set of configuration files, and then you can not share another. And so in your personal directory or your private directory, you can put those in there, and you can have them, pull each other in. You can have the public one use the private one. Okay. What is the purpose of using H, J, K, and L to navigate? That's how you get away. That's what RTP is. RTP is the path. I think it's the resource path. I don't know what the long name of it is. We should probably go look it up. So look, help RTP. Shall we do that? Okay, here we go. So RTP, did you see what I just did? : help space RTP. RTP is the runtime path. So it's a place that it looks at for files. Now, how do I get out of this help that I just opened? Well, for that, I'm going to do a Shift-Z-Q, and I'm out now. Or : Q exclamation point, whichever one you like better. Again, I'm assuming you went through the Vim tutor. And so that's all. That's all we're going to do for Vim. And now you have a start at your vimrc. Go ahead and save that, and every time you run your computer, it will pull in your vimrc. Okay, my vimrc is on GitHub, and it is actually, I can give you a copy of it right now if you want. So right now I'm going to teach you how to use eeks. This is a good thing. This works into the next thing that we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to use a tool today to give you called eeks, which is going to give you my script. Okay, so you can actually use this little program to save your script and to download and copy things and all of that jazz. I'm using TMUX with Alacrity Terminal. Okay, so and it's probably worth mentioning that everything we've been talking about so far about the terminal is nothing fancy. It would work with any terminal, and you'll notice that we just created a standard little terminal, any Linux Bash terminal, I should say. So I'm not a fan of using a complicated window manager or a desktop environment because it does not translate. The skills don't translate. If you get used to using any terminal anywhere, the terminal doesn't matter. So that's why TMUX is so important. We're going to get to that later. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But so I'm going to type exit here, and I'm going to go back to see where we are, how we're doing on time. Yeah, this is Cinnamon. I'm not preferable to the arrow keys. Why don't you have your hands from home row to navigate? Yes, that's another good reason. And okay, so right here we have configure local Vim user settings. We did that. Steal local Vim configs from others. Review what Vim config does. We talked about that, and we grokked why a smaller vimrc is better. So let me just spend 1 minute on that. The smaller your vimrc, as you gain experience, and as you look around, you're going to start being sucked into this bloated Vim tendency. It happens to everybody. They end up with like 500 plugins, it feels like, and they have tons and tons of little Vim scripts in their vimrc grows to enormous size. That's almost always a bad sign, and I want to justify that comment. When your vimrc is growing and the number of plugins you use is growing, that means that the number of things that you are doing that are Vim dependent is increasing, and the amount that you are integrating your shell into VI, a lighter weight VI or vimrc, is decreasing. So here's the sign of somebody who is not doing that, who's not fallen victim to bloated vimrc plugins. Their stuff is very small. They have maybe 2 or 3 essential syntax plugins for the languages they use, and everything else is done with the magic wands. And if you don't know what the magic wands are, you can go read them later. RWX, so we're going to do links rwx.gg/vi-magic-wands. And you should know about these already if you did your homework. So the homework was part of the Vim tutor was to go read about the magic wands and see what they do. And I'm not going to go into why the magic wands or what they do, other than to say that magic wands allow you to use your shell for expansion. So you can write a script that will do things like, so let's say, let me give you a for instance. So let's say I'm making I'm writing this little blog post or something, right? And I want to be able to insert the current date. Okay. Now I could, with the magic wands, I can do this. I can do bang, bang, and I can type now, and it puts the date in. What did it just do? Let me try that again. So bang, bang, now. So what it did is it went out to the current shell, it ran the program and replaced the current line with the program. You can do this for very powerful things. You can put numbers, you can do division and complicated math, and this is all talked about in the vimrc thing, and I need to stop here for a second. But watch, now rather than, I can actually run this, bang, bang, and I'm going to send it to BC, which is a calculator, and then it calculates the value. Let me do it again. Bang, bang, BC, enter, and you get the number instead. So my point about a fat, bloated vimrc with plugins is that it's an indicator, it's a symptom of the Vim disease rather than integrating with your system. And Vim's single greatest value proposition beyond being on everything is how tightly it integrates with the system. There's no need for a plugin. There's no need for an extra thing. Because why? Because you can make a script that does it instead, and you can use the script everywhere. There's my now script. Okay, so here's what's in it. So, oops, you won't have this command, but so this is my now script. You guys want a copy? Here you go. So, ex now. So that's, whoops. I actually have another command for this. All right. So these are all commands that I can write. So the idea is that you should be thinking about what kind of script can I write instead of what kind of macro or plugin do I need. And if you can get yourself in that mindset as a beginner, we're going to talk about ex in a second. I'm going to help everybody get a copy. Okay, so that's actually coming up next. I don't know if we're going to have time to start right now, but I promise you I'll get you that right away. So actually that's at the end of the day today. Let's see. So getting stuff with your browser, get stuff with the web browser, and curl on ex. We'll get to that part, okay? I don't want to give it to you until you have some place to put it. Right now you don't have any place to put it. We're going to cover that, hopefully. So we have 1 minute left. So let's wrap up our Vim. I feel like we spent a lot of time on it, but I just really want you to understand that point about Vim is most powerful when it's combined with your shell, and unfortunately most tutorials out there do not teach you how to integrate VI with your shell, and that is the single most powerful reason to use VI. Okay. And you can see lots of other examples of how to do that. Let me give you one other quick one. So, well, since I have 1 minute left. So let's say, for example, I want to pull in, I create, so I don't mind doxing some of the people that I teach in person. So here's a little tool I made. to show me all my students. Okay, by first name, that's fine. It's not doxing anybody. All right. So, and let's do this. I have a role script. So I have a role on somebody. I'm sure Ethan probably won't mind. So, and I'm just going to show his role. So I promise there's a point here. So this is going to show his role. Okay, let's say I'm composing an email. So let's say email dot.txt, which you can do from the command line. So I'm like blah 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 to the person, and I say, and I want to put his role in here. Watch, bang bang, again 2 exclamation points, and then ska. This is my command I wrote. Role Ethan. Okay, and that will pull his role in. So do you see what it just did? So by doing this shell integration, I have just made a shell integration that I can automatically pull that has nothing to do with Vim script. And that keeps your knowledge in one place. It keeps you writing bash code, and it keeps you writing stuff like that instead of writing Vim script. So there's really no reason for you to get really good. Yes, temp files get deleted automatically when you reboot. Otherwise, you can clean them out on your own if you want to do that. All right, I need to take a break. I'll be back at 12:10. I'm going to turn the music back up. But feel free to ask questions of each other if there's people more experienced in here. Make sure, that's why I used /temp, by the way. When we do running Linux, we're going to go through a really brief organization of where everything goes. Okay? So I'll be right back. Do we even have news? Gots to have the fish. All right, we have so much to cover. I don't think we're gonna make it, but we'll cover it. You guys can work it on your own. No, I did not. No time to talk about that right now, Jogger. Ask that another day. I haven't been on, by the way. I haven't been on the stream like informally as much as I usually do after because I have been like frantically writing content to make up and transferring content from my other site. Almost none of it is still relevant, so it's crazy when you get in this business of keeping up with education and technology. You have to constantly change things, and I mean, some people will see I was up at like 3 a.m. one morning. So otherwise, I'd be happy to answer all those kind of questions informally when I'm on stream at nighttime. So hopefully, we'll get ahead of this a little bit. All right, let's do a Dotfiles repo, shall we? Yeah. Let's do a Dotfiles repo. And no way, man, my yoga time is sacred. I love it. So, Dotfiles. All right. So the first thing I actually went ahead and created an account that you guys can follow along with that I want to show you right now. I'm gonna turn my music down a little bit. So if you go out to GitLab, gitlab.com/rwxu. YOU. RWXYOU. Okay, so RWXYOU is a group. It's actually you can consider it kind of like an account that I will be using. That's a brand new account that emulates what you might have while you're going through this. You can do RWXme, whatever, and some of you might do that. Hopefully, please don't try to steal this one. I need it. So anyway, you'll see that there's no projects here. We covered GitLab and GitHub. We're not going to cover that today. We covered it extensively yesterday, so go watch the video when that gets published. And we're going to use GitLab for this. So we have an account set up. We've already set up our keys of how to do all of that and watch. I'm not going to spend a second on that. I don't have time. All right. So what do we need to do? We need to create a Dotfiles repo. The only thing I'm going to say about GitHub here is that if you are doing this with GitHub, what I'm about to do will not work. Okay, if you're doing this with GitHub, you have to create the repo up front. You have to pull it down with a clone instead of creating it as we go, which is what we're going to do. And that's what I talked about yesterday. If you are confused at all, you can ask in chat, but I'm going to stop looking at chat because you guys are asking questions about stuff that's already been covered. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and we're going to say, so set up a .files directory. Let's talk about the .files tradition for 1 minute. The .files, you can go out to GitHub or GitLab. Let's try GitHub. There's more stuff out there. GitHub.com, and you can search for .files, and you will see 100. Look at this, 136,000 repositories with Git files in there. .files. Now, .files has become something of a cultural name tradition for all of this stuff, these configurations. You know, obviously the name comes from the .files that go, the hidden files, that's what the .files are, inside of your home directory. It's always been something that's triggered me, and I go back and forth between using .files and the word config, because stuff goes in there that I use that's not particularly a .file. For example, my scripts. My scripts are not a .file. Why would I? Well, people say, oh, put those in a different directory. No, I just want a single place for all my configuration stuff. So, and I've gone back and forth trying to do different ways and trying to organize certain configurations in another. In fact, I went so far as to put all my Vim configuration in a repo and another one in another repo and another one in another repo. And it was just really annoying, and don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay. So the .files tradition is one repo that has all your config in it, and you make it public, generally speaking. And that's because it's kind of a rite of passage, and it's actually a really good opportunity for you to practically apply your bash skills. In fact, your bash scripting skills, which we're going to pick up here over the course of the next couple of weeks, are primarily relevant to most of the stuff you're doing in your .files. Your automations, your little scripts, the little quick things you want to do, all the stuff that you see on the screen that I'm doing with Twitch is all done through bash automation. Bash, once you get your head around it and how awesome it is to code in and how quickly you can get things done, you're going to find yourself adding all kinds. You're going to get addicted. You'll get addicted to automating your workflow. You'll have more fun making a stupid fish animation than, you know, something that's going to save the world, because it's just the nature of the beast. It's so much fun. There's like all these little things you can do. You can make this little dough, or you know, I can make ASCII art. You can do you can do anything. And that's what's so great about Linux, is once you get it all set up, you can do anything, and it's immediately available to you, and then everybody else can see it. In fact, one of the recruiters that I've talked to, one of the number one things they look at to see whether a person is going to be a good admin or something is they look at their dot files. They go out to their GitHub or the GitLab, and they look around and they say, well, what are they doing? Oh man, that's cool. I'm going to put that in my script. Okay. So there's lots of practical applications for this beyond it just being ridiculously fun. That is the tradition of dot files. So we're not going to break with the tradition today, and we're not going to actually call it dot files. Those of you who know me know that currently my main configuration is called config, and I actually am going to rename it in celebration of this change. I will be renaming my repo from config to dot files, mostly because bin is no longer something that goes in your directory. It goes in .local, and then I call it scripts anyway, so it's also clearly a dot files thing to do. All right, so let's go for them a little bit further and go back to where we are. Okay, so that's the tradition of dot files. If there's any specific questions about dot files, we can talk about that, but I have to get through a lot of stuff. All right, so Grok. Grok means to understand deeply, basically. Repos directory organization. Okay, so the next thing we need to do before we can make our dot files, so here I have this brand new account that has nothing on it. All right, and oops, I cheated because I already did this last night. So I have to get rid of it. Pretend like you didn't see that. All right. So we have to figure out a way to put all our stuff. And yesterday, very briefly, we talked about the repos configuration. So part of setting up your dot files in your local configuration is having a place to put all of these project repos, these things that you're downloading off GitHub and GitLab and all over the place, right? Where are we going to organize them? And I'm going to tell you from very painful experience, what I think is the best way to organize stuff. First, make a repos directory in your home directory. Make dir repos. You can call it capital R if you want, whatever. Okay. I suggest this not be a hidden directory because you're going to be going here a lot. In fact, later on, we're going to set an environment variable that points to it to save us a lot of time in coding later. All right. So then we have a repos directory. And we're going to cd into this repos directory. I picked the wrong color scheme for today, didn't I not? You know what? I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to have to go really dark, people, just for now. Okay, so then we have a repos directory. It's these bad colors because I'm using an account that has not been used yet. That's why the natural colors are a little bit darker. One of the many things that you'll get to configure, and you'll become addicted to configuring. So inside of our GitHub repo, inside of our repos directory, we need to now organize our repos. And this is the thing that I've learned very much the hard way. Unless you do what I'm about to do, you will end up creating repos or running into repos that other people have created with names that collide. Okay, so yes, the directory form from before. So we're going to do this: make dir gitlab.com. Okay, and that's where all my GitLab directories. You can use a dot in the name. And then I'm going to make another directory for the account. And later on, you're going to have lots of accounts, plus you'll be pulling down other people's accounts. So this is the only way to keep your friends' dot files from colliding with your dot files. Okay. So if you want to pull it down, just look at it or something. So then we're going to do this. We're going to do make dir, and we're going to say rwxu in this case, which doesn't match my host name, but that's fine. And then on my account name. And so now we have an rwxu. Go down to rwxu. I do Golang. Golang is good for this too. Yes. And okay, so now we have gitlab.com/rwxu. And now we can go ahead and do a clone. Now we didn't talk about cloning very much yesterday, but if you're on GitHub right now, you can go ahead and clone the directory you already created. But let's jump ahead and pretend, and well, we're gonna do it like GitLab style. GitLab style, we don't make directories using the stupid GUI. We make directories by actually doing git commands. So we're gonna make a directory for our future repo called .files. So make directory .files. Okay, and then we're gonna cd into .files. I really need to change that background, but oh well. And so we're now in the .files directory, and there's nothing here, right? And it's pretty long, and you might want to customize your prompt and all that. So there's nothing here. Well, can you think of a file we might want to save in here? Let's see. This morning we already did one, right? We already started making a file that we want to save. And that's the whole point, by the way, is that we want to save files from going away if our system dies. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and copy. Okay, readme. Oh, I can do a readme. That's good. Let's try that. Let's try a readme.md. That's a good idea. Let's do that. Go ahead and edit a readme. Good practice here. And I'm going to make this first one say my .files. .files. And then we're going to say buyer beware, right? So, because it's like my stuff here. Oh boy, what did I just do? I think I just changed the... I did. Oh boy. Wow, that's kind of fun. I really screwed something up. I changed my Alacrity terminal a little bit. Anyway, so here we go. We're going to go... Oh boy, where am I? All right, here, save this. Save it, exit. All right, you can cat it and see if it's all there. Cat it, see it's all there. Good job, okay. And so now what? Well, there's another file, or vimrc. Let's copy that vimrc file. Now this is a little tricky. You haven't done this before. So you're gonna learn a new thing today. So copy tilde, that is shift backtick, the thing above the tab key. And that stands for home. If you would rather not do that, you can also type $home. Same exact thing. Okay, so either tilde or $home. Slash, I mean, if you really want, you can type home sample or whatever your account name is. That's what it is, right? All of those are the same. Home slash .vimrc space dot. Now, what does the dot mean? The dot means this directory right here. Okay. Variables, environment variables are usually all caps. Yes. So that's what that's about. Now, 90% of people that are doing this are going to use a tilde. 90% of anybody you might run into will do a tilde. Tilde stands for my home directory. And then we do that enter. And now only 90%. So let's do ls, and you can see readme.md is there. And like, but where's my vimrc? Anybody want to know why it's not showing it? Why is my vimrc not showing? I just copied a file. Where is it? It's a dot file. Very good. Right? So ls-a, it's a hidden file. But we don't really want it to be hidden in here, do we? Now, there's some people who put hidden files in their dot files directories, and I just don't think that's good form. I don't like that. Besides, you can still copy or link. We're going to teach you how to link. So let's do this. Let's move this file from being a .vimrc to just vimrc. How about that? That's fine. Anybody can see it. It's here for me to use, and we're good to go, right? Okay, but Mr. Rob, how is this thing going to get picked up by my home directory? Well, we're going to get there. Don't worry. They do all kinds of things, but I strongly suggest against using hidden files inside of your repos, because there's other uses for hidden files in here. Okay, when you can avoid all of that in just a sec, I'll show you. So now we have a vimrc file, and then we have another vimrc file right here. All right, so there's two files, and if you do the diff command, you can see that they are the same file. Okay, same exact file, no difference. Now, what happens when we change this one? I'm actually going to hang it myself, but we'll do it. What happens if I change this vimrc? Say I want to change it to elflord. All right, now what? Now my diff shows me I have a change. Ooh. How does my change get picked up by my vimrc? It doesn't, right? So now we have to talk about something called symbolic linking. And what that does is you saw earlier, it's going to point the inode, it's a symbolic link. It's an inode. It's a thing in your file system. It's not really a file. It's not really a directory. It's kind of like a pointer, a symbolic link that points to a file that is someplace else. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to replace our other file with a symbolic link. Okay, so let's do that. So first we have to do something that's kind of feels dangerous. Okay, so be very careful on this step. You want to absolutely make sure. In fact, let's go ahead and save this just in case something goes wrong, right? So how do we do that? How do we save with Git? So we don't have a save command yet. You guys haven't made one. So let's do it using, yeah, it's like a shortcut, but not really, because it actually can be used. Shortcuts cannot be used as files. They are things that redirect you when you in your Explorer in Windows when you go there. In this case, it's actually can be used. If you open it, it will open at that spot. Okay, so we have to remember our Git commands from yesterday. So yep, we have to do all of those commands, and I am going to attempt to remember them myself too. And I don't know them very well. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't remember them very well, so I'm going to have to go look them up. So I told you yesterday that I don't ever use these commands anymore because I have them in a script. So just like you, I'm going to learn them again. Git init, okay, is going to make a new Git repo directory. All right, that's nice. Next, we have Git remote. I'm cheating. I'm looking at my notes. Add origin. Okay, and then what? Git at gitlab.com. Colon rwx u. Mine's not going to work, but that's okay. You know what? I'm sorry, I have to do something first. I'm going to give you a really quick review of how to do SSH keygen because I forgot to do it on here. So SSH keygen, this is a brand new account. This is a review of yesterday. TED25519. Okay, enter, and I have a new key, and now I can cat my key .ssh id underscore ed229.pub. Remember pub? Okay, now I'm going to copy this key right here, and I am going to add the key to my GitLab by opening my account. This is all stuff we covered yesterday. I'm going to scroll down and go to my SSH keys, and I'm going to paste the key in here, and I'm going to add the key. Okay, now that's all ready to go, and I should be able to come back here, and now I can do SSH. For this account, I'm probably going to have to do the git config. So git config -- global user.name is rwxu. Yep. And I don't think I have an email for that one. No. I'm sorry, I have to do this differently. rwx and then git config -- this is in. We covered all this yesterday. Global user dot email rwx@robs.io. And this should work. SSH, we're going to check it. I don't know if you can see it. Let me check. SSH git at gitlab.com. Please work. Yes. And yay, it works. Okay, so there, I got my key set up in like 1 minute. So that was a review of everything yesterday. If you don't know it, go back and watch that video when it gets posted. So now I'm ready to do the rest. So what was I doing before? I got my let's see, what did we do? We did git init, okay. Back to the next step, looking at my notes. Git remote add origin. Git remote add origin. And then this is the hard part. Git at gitlab.com. That part's always the same. And then a colon, and then the account. In this case, rwxu. And then what? And then the name. Okay, we want to name this .files.git. Yesterday, I found out the hard way that if you leave the .git off, you will be in trouble. So we're going to put the .git on there. It used to work, by the way, before I actually confirmed with someone else. And so what's my next step? Well, I need to add everything. So you can do git add dot, or you can actually also do -A. Either one will work. This is going to add everything. Let's just check our status, git status. And then we've got, okay, two new files here ready to go. So the next step is I need to commit. So I need to commit these changes. So we're going to do git commit -m, and I'm going to say initial, like, or first commit. I mean, there's really nothing to say here. And -m is for the message. Make sure you do that or you'll be thrown into your editor instead. git push -u origin master in here. So right now, if we do a git status, we'll see that there's really nothing there. But we need to push it because it hasn't gone up to GitHub. And this is where the magic happens on GitLab. That does not happen on GitHub. What I'm about to do will not create an account on GitHub. GitHub will give you an error and says there's no repo, forget it. On GitLab, it's like, oh, thank you very much. I'm going to make you one. So then we're going to go ahead and do git. I encourage you to use the git commands themselves rather than any other tool. And so you can actually learn the commands. So let's do this. Git, what was it? Push -u. Yeah. -u origin master. By the way, you don't need to do -u origin master every time after this. You just need to do a git pull and then a git push. Git pull and then a git push. Always remember to do the git pull because you may have made changes on another computer someplace, or maybe eventually somebody else makes changes, and then you want to get those latest changes. Okay, so then you go push this up for here, and it tells you what's going down. Now you have a private repo. We won't not be talking about rebasing. No, that is not a beginner thing to do. I've never had to rebase in my entire life. I just remove the .git directory and reset it and make a new one because I'm not using it for the serious purposes of Git, but I don't want to talk about that right now. So guys, don't worry about that question about rebasing. If you're a beginner, don't need to mess with it. It's just a way to reset the starting point of the versions. And okay, so you should generally do a git pull before you do any changes, just to make sure no one else has made any changes. And if you do a git status, it will tell you, but the git status doesn't tell you if there have been changes made. To do that, you need to do a git pull. Let me give you an example of when that happens. This is a really bad thing. So let's say you go up to your GitLab. Let's refresh our, let's go to our group. We're going to go to our RWXU group. Which is sort of like an account. Hey, look, I've got a .files and it's private. Okay, so it's locked. That means it's private. We have it. So here's what would happen if you didn't do a git pull. So let's say you were at school one day or something and you made a change to your README file and you forgot. Okay, and you made the change up here. You say, so you put, like something else here. We did all of our editing with GitLab on the second day, so you'll remember that. We're going to go ahead and commit this. So let's say you've committed some changes using the web interface, or somebody else made changes if you've got a multi-user repo. But let's just say that. Now if you just do git status, you'll see that there's no change. It looks like it's all fine, and it's not. So what you need to do is do that before you start doing a lot of editing. You should do git pull. And then the git pull will pull down all of the changes, fast forward and synchronize you. And now when you open up README, you'll see that something here has been updated. Okay, what happens if you don't do that? All right, if you don't do that, you get kind of a problem. So let's say I go in here and I make some change from command line. Okay, and then over here, without it being committed, and then over here I make another change. So then I do this. I'm going to force a merge conflict here. So I say something from GUI, and we save this, commit this. Now what? So then we get so now we have a problem. Watch, git pull. It's going to try really hard. Aborting. You see what it did? It failed. I said, I'm sorry. You made changes up there and you made changes to this file. I don't know what changes you want to use. And so it says, I'm sorry, you have to deal with it. Now, there's ways to get around this. There are many ways around this. One of the easiest ways to get around it is to just get rid of all your changes and redo them, and just don't do that again. So yeah, I know that sounds like a pretty draconian measure. If anybody else has a smarter way to do this, they're telling you to git stash. I've always tried to do that. I've never been able to do it really successfully. So if you do a git stash, that's supposed to stash all of your changes so that it basically took out all of your changes. See that? It took out all of your changes that weren't committed. So it like hid them. It hid them away. And now you can do this. Now you can do git pull, and the pull will work. Okay? See that? And then you're like, but I don't know how to unstash. I've never been able to unstash. Someone be able to help me here. Git unstash. No, that's not it. So I don't know. I've never used git stash. So, but there's got to be a way to. Is it git stash pop? Thank you. I've never been. Thank you. Today I learned something. Git stash pop. So git stash pop. This is something I've been meaning to learn all my life, but I generally make sure I don't have merge conflicts. And pop that will take all those changes and then put them in and see if they work. Oh, and it's like, hey, look, I have a problem here. So you go to readme.md and it does this. It like messes up your file, right? So, but at least you can like fix it. You can go in here and fix it and say here, I want this. And then I can go ahead. If this, that's nice. Pop index. I didn't know about that. Thank you very much. So now we can go ahead and save our changes. Okay. And we can't, how do we save our changes? We do git commit -m. Let's see, merged messages. And we need to do an update. What happened? Committing is not possible because you have unmerged files. Fix them up in the working tree. Git status. Oh, I forgot. Oh yeah, it's because they both been, what? Is that considered a new file? I guess it is. All right. So git add dot, and then we'll do git commit merge messages. There we go. And then git push. You shouldn't have to do anything else besides that. Let's keep going. And now we finally have it. Yeah. So you're going to be able to rerun it, Jan. Don't worry. So there we go. We have a lot to cover today. So that's a lot to do. That little stash and merge conflict thing, I had not planned on covering that, so that was largely a delay. But I just wanted to let you know that that is a thing you can do if you accidentally save files in two places. But just don't do that. Just do git pull instead, and then you're always going to be sure it's going to say, hey, I have all the latest changes. You're good to go. Now you can make changes. Just be sure to not do that. So there we go. And that's going to be a thing. Rebasing is not for beginners, so we aren't going to be covering it here, but you're welcome to, maybe I'll cover that outside of the boost day, but we can talk about rebasing, and there's lots of ways to do that. But yeah. All right. So let me get back on track here. So we did this, we got all of our stuff saved. And now next. So let's do this. So we've got this thing here, vimrc, but it's still not being used. So what is the next topic to cover? We need to cover so we set up our .files repo. Now, okay, yeah, before I get going too much farther, let's talk about configuring bash and symbolic links and all this. We're going to cover symbolic links as we go, but I want to back up and talk about the whole concept of command shells in general. And I have 30 minutes to get through all this stuff, so we'll see what we can do. So the idea of an interactive command shell is what we are using right now. A shell is a program that takes in input and spits out output and does things. It uses what's called a REPL, a read, evaluate, print loop. And of the interactive shells, yeah, we're going to talk about bash versus dash versus Z shell right now. So there are a number of shells out there. I'm going to be very succinct. There's a lot of documents that have been written about this comparison, and I will write my own. But I'm going to tell you generally what the conclusions are, with a little bit of justification for those conclusions, but not the extended long version of the reasons for these conclusions. Okay, so the program that you're using every time when you execute a command is called bash, and it's the thing that's taking care of your commands, reading them and running them for you, and sending you the output. And everything we do from here on out today is going to be about how to configure bash. And inevitably someone asks, well, what about Z shell? What about dash? What about TC shell? What about fish? There's millions of other shells out there. And if you're a beginner, the only thing you really need to know is that Linux comes with bash built in as the user shell. The end. That is why. That is the number one reason why you're going to learn bash. It's also the most powerful shell out there right now. PowerShell is a Windows thing. That's a funny joke, but it's not relevant for what we're doing here. So it is not an exaggeration to say that the Linux shell for users is bash. That is a fact. That's not an opinion. That's not some argument. That is a fact. The Linux shell is bash. And unless you find some esoteric distro that has changed the default shell, the Linux shell is bash. Okay, and as a as a shell program. It can not only, be configured to different things, which we're going to do today, but it can also be used as a language, as I talked about earlier. So we're going to be using it in different ways to customize and write functions, which you can't even do in Z shell, and scripts and all kinds of fun things. So that's the reason. I'm gonna pause, and I'm gonna do something I normally wouldn't do, but I want to strongly advise you against using Z shell. Okay, the number one reason for that, as I said before, the standard Linux shell is bash. I don't know how many more times I need to say this. The standard Linux shell is bash. Okay, it is not Z shell. Z shell has a number of monstrous problems that I will not rant about now at great, self-restraint. In fact, we had somebody in our Discord who watched a very famous YouTuber about this tell them to do, instead of doing cat foo to show a file, they told them to do this, and it didn't work. And they were all stressed out about it because it didn't work, because it works in Z shell, even though it should not ever work. And because it worked in Z shell, and this YouTuber decided to tell the world that was what you do, that's how shell works, this beginner was very frustrated and lost a lot of time. I get very triggered by Z shell. Another thing people do with Z shell is they do these crazy things with CD that are unnecessary because they don't understand CD path. And the last thing, Z shell does not support exported functions at all. It doesn't support it, which is a massive, massive fail. There are so many things wrong with Z shell that I cannot even begin to tell you. Yes, it's the standard shell for Mac, which just perfectly fits my conclusion about it as a shell. It is the standard shell for Mac. You know what the standard shell for Linux is? Bash. Let's not debate this any longer. Okay? Z shell is the standard shell for Mac users. If you want to be considered somebody who uses the standard shell for Mac users, fine. I want to be considered as the standard user of Linux, and Linux does not use that. Okay. All right. So, all right. So there is one other shell though that we need to talk about. Okay. The other shell that we really, really need to talk about is called Dash, and the Dash shell is a POSIX, 100% POSIX compliant, fast shell. That is symlinked. Here we go. ls-l bin-sh. Anytime you use bin-sh, you're using a shell called Dash, which is I think it's a Debian Almquist shell, which is really, really fast and POSIX compliant. That means that it works on any Unix ever made since the 70s. Okay, so there's really only two shell languages you should be using, and two shells that you should really be, the only interactive shell I believe you should ever use is Bash, period. But if you are writing in shell, I strongly believe there's only two types of shells you should write in. A POSIX compliant shell, which means Dash or bin-sh, or Bash, which is the one that already comes on your system. Any other shell might be useful and fun and silly or whatever, but it's unnecessary. So anyway, let's move on. So let's go through. So I think I've done enough of a conversation about that. So it says here, Grok shell login scripts. So the important thing that you understand about this is what a login script does. So I'm going to play through really quickly with our remaining time. Let me see how much time we have left. We might be able to get to links. Let's see. Link bash aliases to browser. Okay. Gosh, we might be able to get to them. We're going to try really hard. All right. So we're going to talk about what your shell does when you log in. Okay. So when you log into a system, okay, when you first log into a system and you get this, right? So I'm going to show you. So here's, pretend like I'm on a different system and I'm logging into a new system. Anytime you open a terminal or you use SSH, it opens up the shell. Okay, so I'm going to do that using something called sudo, which, in case you want to know, this will actually log you in as another user, and the dash means become that user as if you had just logged in using SSH or something like that. So then you come in here, and I'm gonna have to type my password in really quickly, and so now I'm this user again. Okay, you see I'm in the home directory. And we already know about all of these files that are in here. Okay, when you first log into a shell, it runs a number of system scripts that set up all kinds of things, and then it runs the bash rc script that's right here. And if it's, I forget if it's not, yeah, if it's a login script, it will also run .profile. So you can go look at these files. You're not going to hurt anything by opening them. It says here, the .profile is executed by the command interpreter for login shells. This file is not read by bash. Instead, use bash profile, bash login. Okay, so that, you know, don't mess with it. Okay, so the moral of the story for today, the takeaway is, don't mess with stuff that's already there. And this is why I'm saying don't use my configuration. In this case, don't be me. Okay, I really feel for beginners that you shouldn't mess with what's already on the system unless you have to. Okay, because you know you might not be able to. For example, when you use picoctf, they lock down the bash rc file. You cannot change it. You don't have the option of changing it. So if you want to customize picoctf to be something that has your colors or your aliases and stuff, you can't use bash rc. So don't set your thing up to use bash rc by default. Have it be a single file. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to show you what's in here. Okay, so tilde bash rc, this is executed by bash for non-login shells. That means no matter what, this script runs. Okay, even if you're not a login shell. And it's got a bunch of things in here that you're going to override, I promise. You're not going to want to keep this history size. You might want to not check the window size, less pipes, a bunch of stuff that you don't need to understand. It changes colors for your prompt. But you know, and it sets up a default prompt for you. You're going to definitely want to change this. Everybody wants to change their prompt. But you know, there's no reason to break the one that they decided should be the standard one for you. This colors thing too, see all my dark blue colors? We're going to change that one. They even set up some aliases by default for you. And here's the good old LL alias. You know, they're doing all these things. But it's good to look through here, and you're not going to break anything just looking at it. But don't change it. Okay, so let's leave this here. But here's the magic. Okay, so the magic is that on pretty much every bash configuration out there in the world, particularly Debian based, is that it will automatically run a file that doesn't exist called .bash_aliases. Now the name kind of grates on me because it's not just aliases, it's whatever you want. You can run whatever you want in there. So we won't call our file bash aliases, but we will make it at that place. We'll make it live at that place so that when you log in interactively or at any time, it will run our file. It will run it for us. Okay. So, and that's going to be a very, very good way to do it. Why have a bash aliases when I can just add it to bash rc? As I just said, if you add it to your bash rc, you won't be able to add it to a bash rc on a system where they have set up that you can't change the bash rc like picoctf. And the fact of the matter is, if you add something to bash rc, you have to replace bash rc with a symbolic link. And that's what I've done, but I'm not suggesting beginners do that in particular and that other people don't do it. I think you should start by updating your bash aliases file first, because then if you definitely want to own bash rc and you have massive knowledge of the bash rc everywhere, you can take it over and own it for all systems. But you know, I actually had this problem because I went to go use picoctf and I went to customize it and couldn't change bash rc, so I put everything in the bash aliases file instead. And so we're going to start out by doing that by default. And I'm not going to encourage beginners to make a change to their bash rc at all, because that way we have a file that's completely separate. And if they go to any other system, it will work. Okay, so how it becomes unmanageable if you have tons of aliases. It depends on how many aliases you have, and we're talking about beginners here, so that is not a question yet. I want to stay in. We're going to have one file for now. One file with the aliases, and one, by the way, the idea of having multiple files is a bad idea because you can't take it with you as easily. So if you have a single file that has all of your bash configuration in it, and you go to a different system, you just curl over one file and you're done. You don't have to do the other part. Okay, if you can't use bash rc, when I use .profile, because .profile is also not always executed for bash. Okay, so it says right here, executed by the command interpreter for login shells. This file is not read by bash. You see this? It's not read by bash. Okay, it says you can use bash_profile or bash login if you want. So you can use dash profile, but the other problem with that is that bash profile, and this is a big problem, is that bash profile only runs for login shells. It does not run for all things. So this is part of the conversation about how things run. When you use SSH to remotely connect to another computer and you connect to Linux, it's going to run the bash profile, but it won't run, and it will also run the bash RC. If you try to run a program like that's automated, so let's say you set up some sort of automated program or something, it will not run with the login shell, and the bash aliases will run no matter what. So they will run whether it's a login shell, an interactive login shell, or it's a script that runs when you're not even there. So this has been a problem in the past. I mean, there's arguments both ways, but the distinction between having some stuff that runs on your system when you log in and other stuff that does not can get really sticky really fast. I really strongly think it's important that you think of everything in your account to always be available and run for everything. That means if you write a script that uses an exported function or something, it's going to use it and it's not going to miss it because it's not an interactive login shell. That is a really deep explanation that's designed not necessarily for beginners, but I want the beginners to understand that one file to rule them all, and we're going to actually link that file to bash aliases, even though there's lots of other ways to do it later, and you can get as fancy as you want. So this will get you started quickly with a single file, and you can go from there. So we need to go back to where we're going to put that file. Okay, and I only have 4 minutes for that. So let's get started by creating our first file. So we need to go back into our repo. So we're going to cd into what? We're going to cd into repos, and then tab, 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 and now I'm all the way back into my .files. And you see I have my vimrc here, right? So let's make a new file. Let's make a file, and let's call it, you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call the file bash config. And the reason I'm calling it bash config is because I hate the name bash aliases. This is where all of my bash config is going to go for now. And if you guys know me, my bash config is one of the most complicated. I have to actually compile my bash config because there's so much stuff. And so I know how to do all the other stuff, but this is for beginners. Okay, so beginners, go ahead and just start with one file. And inside of this file, let's make our first alias, okay? And if you want to, you can unset all of the previous aliases, which I think is a good idea. And I'm going to go look up my RC myself to go see what the command is for that. So minus RCs, don't get bent out of shape because I'm using this big fancy one here. I've been doing this for a while. So it's this unset, let's see, aliases, there it is. Nope. Where's my reset aliases? Do you guys have it in yours? It's aliases dot, I think I might have removed mine. Oh well, it doesn't matter. So let's go back to what we're doing. So let's make an alias. So the first thing we're going to add is an alias. Probably now I want to caution you on aliases though. Aliases are a temporary measure, and they're actually discouraged against in the bash man page. The bash man page suggests you use functions instead of aliases, and there's lots of reasons for that we'll get into when we talk about functions in a bit. So if we make it, so the first thing we're going to do is set up our first alias. So we're going to say alias, and then we'll say, we'll use the standard LL alias, okay? And then we'll say, I want my LL alias to be ls-la, okay? And that says anytime I type LL, it'll type this instead. And it's very important to understand that it's not running a function. It's replacing LL on the command line with these exact letters. And that's one of the very specific things about aliases you need to know, because it's not running anything. It's just it's an alias. So how do we get this alias to work? How do we test it? So what we're going to do now is a thing called sourcing, and the fastest way is a dot. You just do dot space bash config, and that will run the code in the current shell so you can practice using it. And then we're going to do ll, and we get ls-la. And if you want to know what we use the type command. So add these to your notes. So we did the alias one, and we did type. So if I do type ll, it'll show you that ll is alias to ls-la. Okay. If you want to use, let's say you actually made an alias for something that already exists. So here's a fun command, top. All right, so this top, top, this command shows you all of the running processes. What is a process? Process is a running program on the system that either you have started or somebody or the system has started. All right, so we're going to close that. But let's say that you've made an alias. So in my case, we made an alias for top. So I like htop better. So in my system, top does this thing. Okay, it doesn't matter what it is, but let's say I want to use the actual one. You put a slash in front of this, slash top, put that in your notes. If you put a backslash in front of the thing, the alias, it will disable the alias and run the real program that goes with it. Okay. So, and I do have VI, there's a good one. Let's do that. The good idea. So let's do a VI alias. And then, so let's do another alias. So bash config, and here we do alias. And we'll do vi equals, actually I can just do vim on this one because it doesn't need quotes even. Okay, you can't have spaces around your assignment operator, your equal sign in shell. This is actual bash shell syntax, and it's important you understand that. Okay, so we're going to do this, and we're going to go ahead and run, so we're going to sources /bash config, and now let's try our VI. Type VI. It turns out, by the way, that I think VI is a symbolic link. ls-l, let's just see. And that, yep. So there it is. So even if you are using VI is on the system, it's actually alias to Vim. So, but if you want an alias, it doesn't hurt to have that. So I've got that. Okay. So that's it. I got to take a break for another 12 minutes. And when we come back, we'll do a quick example of a function, a quick example of an environment variable, in particular, and then we're going to set up our first script for our first script. And after we do our first script, then we're going to symlink all of that so that works no matter what and save it. Okay, so that's what's coming next. I'm going to go ahead and go AFK for a bit. I think we lost our music. Sad day. Relaxing coffee music is not here. We made it through all of that without getting AFK until 1:10. All right, so go ahead and give it some practice. Yes, set-o for Vim if you want to use Vim. That's another really good one. Set-o Vim. By the way, you guys should do that one. Yep. TMUX and links. We'll try to get there. I promise. All right. Tell 1:10. Just VI, but you can put whatever you want in there, Jan. So again, start looking at other people's configs too, and have them maybe give you examples of what to do. Set-o Vim, by the way, I'm sorry we missed that one. I'm going to definitely put that one. Set-o space Vim will help you use your history as Vim, and that's why Control L is the devil for clearing the screen, because it's Emacs mode. Nobody wants Emacs on their shell. back. A little bit over. Okay, let's get going. Let's do a script. All right, so next, T-Matrix, guys. T-Matrix is way cooler. There you go, T-Matrix. Check out this. Hard stat. Okay. Next is going to be. Here we go. So let's start to do something that's more useful, right? So we need to write a function. So let's first of all write a function. Functions are for things. TMUX has not been covered. Nope. We're going to try. I don't know how we're going to do it, but it's going to be really tough. But we're going to try to cover TMUX. So let's edit our bash config. But the first thing we need to do, guys, is we need to symbolically link these things. And I'm actually going to jump ahead here. So right now we need to make a link from bash config that goes into the bash aliases. So if I list my thing here, there is no such file as bash aliases. Does not exist. So we need to make one. And rather than copying it over and having to do it every time there's a change, we're going to symbolically link it. So the command for that is ln-s for symbolic. Make sure to put these prefixes or it won't work. And we're going to do what we're linking from. So right now we're going to do pwd. Do not forget the pwd. Okay, this is really important. Bash config. And we want that to symbolically link to the stuff in home. You can use tilde or you can use $home /.bash_aliases. So take a look at that. And that will create a link in bash aliases. It looks like that. And that tells you where it points. In fact, I want to do that so frequently. Let's go ahead and save that. Let's make an install script. And in our install script, we will put this new thing that we just got. Okay, so that's a way of knowing what we're going to do. And we're going to put bin bash. And let's go ahead and add an F, which means I want to force it to be linked. That means if it exists, I want it to be redone instead of giving me an error. All right, so that's a symbolic link. All right, now we need to make another link. So let's do another link. And we learned how to make a script, our first script yesterday. So we're just doing that again. And let's do another link. Let's do vimrc to .vimrc. All right. So now we have two links going on here, right? And let's run this. So now I can run this thing. Now this install script is not runnable because it's not executable. We covered that last night. This is in the survival guide for, you can use u plus x or u just a user plus x. Actually, let's just do plus x. That means make it executable. And now our install script is executable. But in order to run it .install, we have to run it. So we do /install, right? Actually, let's add some things to our install script. Let's go ahead and make it so that it shows the link, and so we can, feel better about it. So ls-l home /.bash_aliases. Every time, if you upgrade, anytime you reinstall your account, you would need to, yes. So that's one reason to make this into a script, right? So let's say you come onto another machine, you can download your .files into your repos directory, run install, and you're good to go. Got all your configs set up for you right away. Don't have to do anything else. So let's run our installer again. And now we see it gives us kind of an indicator that something actually happened here. And you can get fancy with that. I mean, it's really easy to get dragged away into making your install script really fancy. I mean, you can change if you don't want it to be called install, you can call setup. And setup is, because it's not really installing anything, right? So you can call it maybe setup instead. That's a better name. And none of that matters. But this is a good time to save stuff. So let's go ahead and save stuff. So how do we do that? Git status, right? We have all this stuff here, bash config and setup. and now we need to add it. So git add dash capital A or dot, and then we're going to go ahead and then we're going to do every time you're ready. You don't have to do it's going to every time you log in it will remember. And so let's do the git status. Okay, it looks good. Now I do git commit dash m, and we put a nice useful message here and say added bash config and setup, and then don't forget your quote on the end, and then hit enter, and then we do our git push, and now it gets saved up to, now we feel safe because it's been saved. And so if you want to, I don't like that method, but that's a nice way to know. So okay, so there we go. And so here we have our little aliases, but we're gonna do something a little more significant. So let's say I wanted to I don't know, I have a lot of, let me go see if I can find a good rate. I'm not really prepared here with one that I particularly like to use, but let's see if we can find one. But there's you know what, let's do the scripts first, and then we'll do exported functions, because they fit in the middle space between an alias and a script, and we'll talk about what that means. But let's not do a function right away. And let's go back to where we were. So we talked the other day about making scripts and stuff. We made a hello world script. Okay, so inside of our dot files, let's go ahead and keep our scripts together with our dot files. Now, if you want binary stuff, that's a different thing. Those of you who have been around for a while will know that this has usually been traditionally the home bin directory. But in this case, the modern systems don't use it as much. They use like a scripts directory, because they're not binary after all. So let's make a directory for our scripts. Make dir scripts. Okay, and then we're going to get through this fast because I want to get to the TMUX config and the links and all that. So now we have a scripts directory. And it's hard to see, I know, but that's because I don't have pretty colors like I have in my other thing, because I'm using this default account. So we have a scripts directory. Let's go into the scripts directory, cd into scripts, and you can see why you might want to customize your prompt. Look at how long this thing tends to get, which we're not going to talk about right now, but you can definitely customize your own by studying the ones that are out there. And so yes, curl, I use curl a lot, actually. We're going to talk about curl. Yeah, I use cheat sheet all the time, and weather and everything. So this is for beginners, so we're not going to go over that right now. We will go over curl in just a second, though, okay? Because we're going to use eeks for that too. So let's make a script, okay? So let's again touch hello, okay? And we're going to chmod it to make it into a script so that it runs. And all of these things, by the way, we're going to go into in a lot more detail when we go through the Linux command line book. So I am sort of talking about what I'm doing here, but I'm going kind of fast because we're going to cover all of this again in excruciating detail when we go through the learning the Linux command line book over the 2 weeks. So we're going to go through it again for the repetition. And it's also written there. All the deep explanation is all written there for you. So hello. So let's type hello world. Echo hello world. You don't need the quotes, but it's just good form to put them. And so we'll do here, we'll do shebang line bin bash, and now we have a script. Okay, our hello runs. Now if I run hello without the / it doesn't run. For security reasons, you don't ever want that to run. You want to make sure that it is in a place that your computer knows about. Now we have that place, so the place that your computer looks is called the path, and you can echo $path, and you can see the path, and this is every directory on the system separated by a colon where everything that can be run will be run without a / in front. And you'll notice that none of our stuff is there. Well, we're going to do something that's very common to do in a bash rc or a bash config. We're going to add our scripts directory to the bash to the path. So we're going to be a bash. Am I in the right place? Nope. Got to go up a level. cd .. So now I'm going to execute bash config, and we're going to change something. So again, I'm throwing you syntax that you haven't seen before that will be covered in the book. But what this says is take that path environment variable and update it. The very first thing you should type is path equals $path. I guarantee you sometime in your life, you will forget to put $path, and the people that are watching this, you know what I'm talking about. When you do that, none of your commands can be found anywhere, including ls. And it's very hard to get around that because now it's in your login. So do not forget $path on the end. So what we're doing is we're adding our scripts directory, and you can use $script repos. So it has to be the full path. I tend to use /home. I just am a fan of $home, sorry, because I don't know, I feel sometimes the tilde doesn't always expand properly. $home always does, so including in cron tab scripts, which is one of the reasons I use this. So $home is what I'm going to use, and then I do the full path to where the repos are. And so we do /repos. These are called environment variables, by the way, these all caps things, and they're set for you by default when you log into the computer. They contain information that can be used to replace other places. And then, yeah, you can do balance. And so home repos, and then what? gitlab.com/rdbxu/what/scripts. Okay, and if you, for right now, that's not too much to add. If you did start to add a lot to your path, you can add another one. You split it up across multiple lines, but I don't want to confuse you yet, so that's fine for now. So this is, make sure this is right. So home repos GitLab rdbxu.file scripts. If it doesn't work, nobody's going to die, but this part, if that's not right, yeah, it'd be a little bit harder. So now some people might ask, how do I get it to work? Well, you can definitely do .bash config, but I want to teach you a new thing to write down. The best way for you to get a new shell that emulates the shell that you would log in with, as basically it takes the current shell that you have and replaces it, is just type exec bash. And the reason for that is you may have made several changes to different things. If you do exec bash, what it does is it replaces your currently running shell with a new one. And it does the login and all that stuff for the new one. So exec bash will run the new shell. In this particular case, you could have just tested it with .bash config, or if you want to type it out, source bash config, which is a bashism only. Works with POSIX shell. Both of those mean run the content of this file at this spot. And that's different than running a script. That means it's as if it reads every single line and then goes through it and does it. It's kind of like a reset, yeah. So the only minor problem with exec bash is that if you've set aliases and you want to get rid of them, they're still there. They're still there in the other one that you're then running. So, and in fact, I need to find out. There's a way to zero out your aliases, but I don't remember it. There's a way to reset all of your aliases so that they all get, everything gets reset every time your bash runs, and I think that's probably the better thing to do there. But the command escapes me right now. So anyway, but now if you do echo path, $path, that's just, echo just means print. It's unalias-8, but I don't think it works for everything, right? Let's add that, guys. Everybody should add that. Unalias-a resets all the aliases every time this runs. So that means if you got rid of an alias, it will remove it. Whereas if you don't have the -a, it will still remember the old one, if you follow me. So the only, no matter what, it will still. Oh, here's another one. Set-o vi. I need to have that right now. So set-o vi tells me to use a shell history. So far you've been probably using the up arrows and down arrows to get your history, right? Well, set-o vi enables you to use home row. So I'm using kkk, jjj, and I can also search through my history with / and search for config, and it will find it. So it's like having a big old history file that you're editing with VI mode. This is the reason that Control L is a bad recommendation to anybody for clearing the screen, because it's specific to the Emacs mode for shell, which is the default, because the guys who made bash were Emacs users. And so Control L is not a way you should ever clear the screen. You should clear the screen with a, let's see, you don't like to type clear? I tell you what, let's add an alias right now, okay? If you don't like clear, let's add an alias to keep you happy. Alias C equals clear, okay? I'm going to do dots to rerun it, and now I can type C and I have a cleared screen. See what I'm saying? If I want to see, you can do CL, you can do whatever you want. And this is going to, so that is much better than Control L for clearing your screen. You should never do that. Plus it's a control command, which is just dangerous all by itself. Control commands in general can get you in all kinds of trouble. Yeah. So every new alias should be after the unalias. The set-ovi is not a thing. We could even put aliases here. You do notice though that that it does not think that this is a shell script, and so there's a couple of ways around that. You could do something like this. How about this? Let's play with this. Let's call it config.bash. How about that? I mean, if you have bash at the end, it will know what it is. So now you do bash and it knows what it is. So that might be a good, better way to do it. So it doesn't matter, but if we do that, what do we have to do? We have to change our install script. So where is our install script setup? Why isn't setup showing anymore? Okay, let's go setup. I'm going to change my bash config to config.bash. I mean, it could even be bash config.bash. It doesn't really matter. Terminal zone shortcut. I would never use a terminal shortcut for clearing because that's only specific to your terminal. Clear works on every Unix system since 1970. And if you alias it to C, it's one keystroke. It's no fewer. It's actually simpler than control because that's a 2-finger keystroke. So there, we're going to go ahead and alias bash config instead. And I'm going to go ahead and run my new setup, and it should create a new symlink, which now uses config.bash. Again, I'm trying to get you into the habit of, owning your own configuration, making your own changes. Can't scroll back. I don't scroll back in the screen ever. I would suggest doing that. And is .bash equal to .sh? No, not completely. Let's try it. It is in terms of shell syntax. .sh is generally used for other things. I am a big, I really don't like, you know what, I'm going to go back. I don't like scripts and files that have extensions. It just makes me crazy. And you definitely don't want them when you're typing stuff out. So if I were to move, I'm going to give you another option here. If I were to move bash config to bash config, we can actually add a line to our vimrc. I just have to go look it up, which will force it to be, it will force it to be the right file type. So again, I'm doing this as kind of an example of ways that you can do your own customizations that make sense, as opposed to just cause, so like one of them, this line right here says, I want to change my file type. So I'm going to copy and paste this, and I can put a line in here. And that's, I don't even have to know what the syntax does. I can just say, if I have a file and the file is called bash config, I want the file type to be sh, which is the same as bash, by the way. So now when I run vi, I can still keep my old name, and I know I'm going all over the place, but that's because I want you to make your own decision. And now it sees it as a bash config file. Okay. Okay, let's see. Control A to go to the top of a line, Control U to delete a line, Emacs 2. Yeah, those are totally useless commands. You should be using VI for that if you ask me. As soon as you set VI mode, guess what? Everything on the history is the same as VI. So for example, I'm going up right here. Let's say I want to change this, right? Look at this. I'm using H and J to navigate. I'm going up here and I'm doing L, and if I have a really long command, I can still do the VI thing. So let's find this one here. I want to jump to the CON. So I /CON and it jumps to, or I can do T, like basically it's full-blown bash. I mean, full-blown VI. So and then, I can do TCO and it jumps ahead. I can do everything. So, DD does work in readline, but it's a history thing. See, I just did it. Guys, I just did it DD. You can do DD. I just did it. Okay, so watch. We'll go up to your line right here. Source code DD. Now it's no longer in the history at that spot. See how it's empty? It's gone. See? There's a blank spot now in the history. Basically, when you set VI mode, your history is like a big file that you can only see one line of. And in every other way, it's VI. And let me just tell you, when you start to set VI mode in this way, you start to think about your editing in terms of one line at a time anyway. And you can actually close your eyes and do a lot of editing just kind of intuitively by searching around and finding the things that you know are there. It really changes your mental mindset. And I really strongly encourage you to use set-VI. If you are going to bite off on this idea of using VI in general, same way as VI. Same exact way. So how do you change insert mode in VI right now, right? Escape or control left bracket, all the same things. My point is that when you truly grok how powerful VI is and how powerful VI bindings are, so the read line library itself, if you know what I'm talking about, supports VI mode by default. You just tap escape or control left bracket. So again, I'm assuming you've gone through the Vim tutorial at this point. Okay, we have a lot more to cover, so I'm going to go forward a little bit quicker. You notice there's no colors and stuff here in the terminal, and that's largely because our color files are not showing up, but that's not a problem. So here's something. EEX the setup script. Yes, we're going to be doing all of that. But first, let's give you an EEX script. I want to show you guys how to do this. Okay, so now there's still some problems here. So we have some configurations that aren't showing up. Let me put that as a challenge. Make the colors show properly with dir colors and all of that kind of things. And so then we go into scripts. And so from inside of scripts, let's actually make some more scripts. Let's actually grab a script from the internet. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to EEX you a script. I'm going to EEX you. We're not going to configure xterm. Are you kidding? Never. Why would I do that? There's no need to confirm or configure xterm. Okay. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and get an EEX script. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to EEX myself the EEX script. Okay. So I'm going to do EEX. Oh, by the way, we forgot to prove that our scripts work. So run hello. See how hello runs now? Why does the hello run? When you type which hello, it shows you the hello is living in our scripts file, but now it's working because it's inside of our bash, our path. All right. So next, let's start sharing a script. So let's do a sample thing where we share a script. So cd into scripts. And I have a script in here, lots of scripts in here. You can steal away. The one that we use a lot is called EEX. And so I'm going to actually send you the EEX script through a paste bin. And you now have a link. And so, but this is how you can use curl. And you should have curl on your system. If you don't, how do you install it? Sudo apt install curl. Okay, so make sure you have curl. I have mine, but if you don't, make sure it's on there. And so now from within the scripts directory here, I can curl this. Oops, I can go get that. Okay, I'm going to go get this whole thing. I'm going to curl that file. If I do it just like this, it's going to just put it like that. Okay, now, but this is where I want to actually redirect it, right? Now, if I want to, we're going to redirect. So redirect is greater than, you can't see that. Let me show you better. All right, so curl, and then I'm going to redirect it. The greater than sign means redirect it. Instead of spitting it out to the screen, I want to write it to a file called EEX. And now if I look in here, I have a file called EEX. But if I do a long listing, I see it's not executable. So chmod plus x EEX. And now I have a file, which EEX, and it will find my EEX file right here. And you can study what EEX does, but it's just a shell script that does it just does some grabbing of that thing. And now you too can share files using EEX, and that's your sample. Now you could have used wget. Wget is another way to do that, but I prefer to use curl for everything, because it gives you more fine-grained control of how you're going to do everything. So I'm not even going to talk about wget other than to say that don't use it, use curl instead. It's just far more precise, and it uses the actual libcurl library, which is the most extensive library on planet Earth. It's used everywhere in every web-enabled device. And by the way, the author of the libcurl is a Twitch streamer, and I forget his name, but he's one of the Twitch streamers in, I think, Science and Tech, so he occasionally will stream. And so that's a way for you to share stuff. what's the equivalent of Control R in VI mode? I don't even know what Control R is. But again, anything that's in VI is in there. So I think we've given you guys a lot of stuff to work on. And again, that's the point. It's not, the point is not for this time to be comprehensive. Oh, search history / which is the best thing of all. Search history is /. Reverse search is capital N. N is find the next thing. Capital N finds the previous version. So for example, so if you're searching with set diet VI, you can use J and K, but watch, if you do escape, so if you do escape, you have to do escape to get into the search mode, and you search, I want to find everything that has bash in it, and then I push N to find the next one, and then I push capital N to go up, capital N, capital N, capital N, capital N, and capital N, capital N, capital N, capital N. So anytime you do any search, you should be using N and capital N to repeat the previous search, so you don't have to do that. As reverse search in VI, yeah. You can probably, you don't need reverse search. In fact, I never use it. In fact, the VI guide I make is going to be all the stuff in VI you never need to use because it's redundant and wasteful. So I use N and N for everything. You know why? Because N works everywhere. So it's fine. This case. So anyway, so there we go. And let's go back, and we've only got like 20 minutes left to cover links and to cover some of the aliases that are actually going to go pretty quickly. So so the next topic is about TMUX, and there is no way we're going to be able to cover all the possible configurations for TMUX. And as I've said, these sessions are not designed to be comprehensive. They're designed to kind of be an overview and make you aware of things so that you can go do the reading and learning on your own. That's the essence of a flipped classroom. So your homework today, of course, is to get your own .files config set up and set up all of these applications and these custom configurations and play around with them and tweak them the way to your heart's content. And welcome to the world of tweaking your configs, because you're going to be doing it forever. It's never ending. It's super fun though. All right, so let's talk about the next thing. So the next tool is called TMUX, and we have to grok what terminal multiplexers are. A terminal multiplexer is the way to split your screen into multiple parts, and I use it frequently. You see me use it constantly. People ask me, well, what window manager I'm using. They're actually asking, how am I splitting the screen up all the time? And it's because I'm using a thing called TMUX, which uses a single terminal, and I'm going to keep coming back to that point. You don't ever need a window manager. There's no need for a window manager if you're using TMUX and a terminal. The only reason you might need a window manager is if, Alt-Tab isn't going to cover it for you. Honestly, that is the only reason. You don't need to split your terminals. Okay. So I'm gonna say something for the next 2 minutes maybe, and it's gonna sound a little bit ranty, but it's because it drives me crazy. Okay, there is no reason to split your screen using anything but a terminal multiplexer. If you split your screen using anything besides a terminal multiplexer, you are bound and slave to that method of splitting your screen for the rest of your life. Do not make yourself a slave to one specific way to split your screen that does not follow you to any other system. So for example, I can be on a Windows machine, I can SSH into a Pico system, and I can split the screen and use multiple windows anytime without any problem or difficulty. Did I install a window manager on the remote system? No. This is the most compelling reason for you to throw every other method of splitting the screen out the window. Commit today to learning TMUX and learning screen and learning how to split your terminal properly in a way that follows you remotely, no matter where you go. And I cannot tell you how many times this saved me as a professional admin. I was like on a system and I needed to have a different window, so I would swap it back and forth between the windows. Whether you just want to run a Minecraft server and have it stay up even if your terminal dies, or you want to be able to have multiple windows, that is the reason to use a terminal multiplexer, multiple screens. That's what multiplex means. Okay, so TMUX is the most power screen. Okay, so a little bit of history on TMUX. TMUX replaced Screen, a tool that is still on every computer to this day. And here it is, right? And all it does, you see, it doesn't look like it did anything. Actually, it did. So if I do Control A, C, it's going to make a new one. There you go. Okay. So it actually made me a new one. Screen is terminating. So screen is the oldest method for combining multiple windows. So there's some vocabulary we have to go over. TMUX. So when we're talking about multiplexers, we're talking about multiple windows. But since TMUX came about, we are also talking about multiple panes. Panes are separation. Here we go. There's 2 panes. Now, I don't have any lines in my panes. I actually hacked my version of TMUX to take out the borders, but you will likely have a border in yours. And that's largely because of the stream. I wanted it to be a little bit easier to read, and stuff. So that's why it's there. But so you have panes, and then you have windows. Windows are like the depth. They're like behind you, and they're there. They're just like, so when I do this, see, this is a different window, right? And then I do C, and I get another window here. I can put fish in this window, and I can go back and forth between the windows with, I'm just double tapping A, Control AA, Control AA. So okay. The TMUX cheat sheets are out there. So the reason I have to explain to you the ancestry of screen coming before TMUX is that serial support. Yeah, I've heard about that argument. So the reason that I have to talk about screen is because TMUX was is the progenitor. I don't know the progenitor. Screen is a progenitor of TMUX. In other words, TMUX came about to replace screen. And mostly because it wanted to split the screens, but also because screen had some old problems. It's been around since the 70s. Okay, so the reason I'm going to tell you that you need to use a screen-centric TMUX configuration is because your muscle memory will apply when you're on a system that has screen that does not have TMUX installed. So every reason that you've chosen to use VI, because it runs on any system, applies to your selection of a very specific TMUX configuration that matches the screen key bindings. Okay, and the reason for that is so that when you get on a system that doesn't have TMUX and you can't install TMUX, because you don't always get that option, your fingers will know the right thing to do. By default, the creators of TMUX decided to make all of these hotkeys and bindings completely esoteric and different from screen. And I imagine there's reasons for that. I've since come across a few reasons that I might like. For example, right now I have 2 TMUX sessions running, one within another one. And so one of my TMUX sessions has one meta key, and the other TMUX session has a different meta key. So I can see maybe the justification initially for that. But as a beginner, I'm just going to tell you right now, if you're going to be a system administrator, you want to train your fingers to do the right thing. And that means, for example, binding Control A to be your meta key instead of Control B. That's just one specific example. If you are used to doing Control B for everything, you're going to get on a screen system that doesn't have TMUX, and you're not going to be able to do anything. Now, you can make the decision for yourself as to the likelihood of you being on a system that cannot have TMUX on it and it hasn't been installed. TMUX does not come on systems by default. You have to install it. In fact, watch. TMUX is not here. Oh, well, that's interesting. So I guess they started... Oh no, I installed, this is my system. What am I talking about? So you have to install TMUX. So sudo apt install TMUX. All right. So if you haven't done that, you have to install TMUX first. Okay. So that is the one case I'm going to make to you about why you should use the TMUX bindings. Now, the other justification for my particular configs, which I'm now going to pull down, is that the TMUX configuration that I use also uses Vim-centric things. So navigation and moving between panes is based on H, J, K, and L, just like VI. So it feels right at home for somebody who is, and this is not original. I got it from some other guy who was a very VI-centered person to use it. So let's actually pull down that configuration now. And in this case, I'm going to go steal a configuration off the internet. I'm going to show you how to do that using your new curl command. So I'm going to go find somebody who might have a good TMUX. Let's see. What does this Robma guy have? Does he have a good TMUX? Let's see. RBX. TMUX is one of the things where it is important that you understand every line, but it's not immediately important because you can generally just trust them. It's not going to violate your security or something. It can, so you should definitely read it. But RBX Rob. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go find TMUX here. Oh, I have a config here. Boy, what is this guy? Man, this guy's config is a mess. I can't see anything in here. Oh my gosh, what is he? What? Okay, TMUX. Okay, well, here we go. TMUX.conf. Okay, what's up with this? So let's look at his TMUX.conf. Okay, here it is. How do I get it? Okay, I'm going to click on, let's see, where was raw? Raw. I want to see the raw file. The raw file, where is it? Copy, open raw. Ooh, open raw. Okay, so open raw. Oh, I can take this link now, and now I'm going to copy it. So your company only uses screen. And a lot of people do, which is why you probably want to have TMUX be useful for that. So I'm using that curl command. Do you remember the curl command, guys? Curl, and then I'm pasting the URL. Oh, wow, I forgot to redirect it. So how do you redirect it? So curl, and then greater than, redirects it. And I want to put that into a file called tmux.conf. Okay, and now what? Now I have a file called tmux.conf here. And look, oh, hey, VI even knows about it. That's kind of cool. So it's configured by my stuff here. Yeah, and here's all my stuff. Can I ex the comp? Yeah. So if you want me to ex it, I can just ex it there. And now you guys can pull down the comp using ex. Although that was weird. Can't open display 0. That was really weird. Why did it do that? Oh, I think I'm still in a screen session. Yep. Yeah, I was. I was in a screen messed up my terminal. So let me go back in there. All right. Okay. Yeah, screen will mess with your terminal settings, by the way. Did I give you the... Oh, there's no ex over here, is there? All right. Do I not have an ex here yet? I thought I put in my ex here. Okay, curl which xclip. Oh, there's probably no xclip. TMUX in home. I mean, I don't know. I want this to work. I'm trying to figure out why it's not working over here. So ex tmux conf. Why isn't ex found? Oh, wait. Oh, I changed. I feel stupid now. I actually changed. You guys remember I changed my aliases back? Yep. I have to change my setup script again. So you'll have many problems just like me. Remember I was like changing the name around. I have to do set-ovi because it didn't pick up any of my stuff. So now, well, okay, exec bash, and now ex should work. So ex tmux still has a problem. You know what? I'm guessing that is, this is fun. This is good debugging. I think the problem is because my ex is depending on xclip. By the way, you guys should install xclip too if you don't have it. I have a feeling that's the reason. I'm going to comment those out for now, just to get it to you. And yeah. So ex.conf tmux is not a directory. There you go. Now it's not. That's not probably going to send it. Did that send it to you in the weconf? Probably didn't. Oh, it did. Good. Yep. To LE. Yep. So yeah. I mean, this is all happening because I'm doing this other user account instead of my natural one. What is xclip? Okay, xclip is a really critical tool. Okay, so let me show you. Calendar, right? Watch this. Cal pipe to xclip. Okay, and then if I want to go over to another file, let's say I was editing a file or something. Oops. And then I can paste and it does it. So what it does is it copies from the command line anything that's piped into it goes into your clickable mouse buffer for pasting into other things. So it's really great if you're like having to go back and forth between graphics environment and something else like that. So that's what xclip does. So sudo apt install xclip for that. We have 10 minutes left, and so I'm going to show you how to do the links configuration and what links is about, and the rest you can probably figure out. There are two clipboards in X. There's the one with your mouse with the middle click and paste, which we talked about before. Redirect versus a pipe. Yes. Okay, the redirect goes into a file. The pipe goes into the input of the next file, of the next program. And standard input and standard output are pretty basic things that we'll cover in the book. But this is just kind of a hint for you about redirection. it's really hard because I can't cover all of bash in 40 minutes. You know, so that stuff is all covered under the Linux command line book. So please make sure, if you want to jump ahead and read the Linux command line book, all of that stuff is explained in there quite a bit. The pipe actually takes the output of one program and sends it into the input of the other program. The greater than sign takes the output of that file and puts it in, or that program, and puts it into a file. Okay, that's the basics, and those are some pretty basic things going on. Just give me this error when I click on Xlink. You just set post SSR error protocol. You can't cover 20 years of experience in 1 hour. That's true too. So yeah, so let's cover how to set up links and why you need it. And we just, all I did with TMUX is show you, look, you watch me using TMUX every day. Okay. Don't necessarily, you don't need to see me doing this to show you how to split screens. Okay, Control A pipe splits the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some homework here. I gave you the TMUX file. Okay, take that TMUX file and study what every line means and practice using it. And oh, by the way, we need to make our link, right? So we can't get past that, and we're going to try to make it in time. It's going to be really tight, but sudo sample. Okay, so, and you'll learn it better too, by the way, if you do it yourself instead of having me show it to you. TMUX file goes in home, yes. Okay, but, remember the thing we've been doing, guys? We want to make it so that we can save it and make changes to it. So I'm going to add it to my setup script. I'm going to say I want a symbolic link, so I'm going to make these separate now. I'm doing VI to YY to yank both lines, and then P to paste. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say I want my tmux.conf file to be linked to tmux.conf. And then I want to link, I want to show if it worked. Okay, so now I can run that again, and because I have -sf, it'll still work. So I can run my setup script again. And now I have a symbolic link to TMUX. So now when I run TMUX on the system, I don't, because I'm running like 5 versions of TMUX at the same time. But you see what I mean? That TMUX config will pop open. When you get that TMUX config working, I encourage you to play around with it. Read every one of those lines. Figure out how to split the screen. What does this bar thing mean? What does the status do? Why is this like this? And just know that this configuration is very specific for a screen-like situation. I just clicked the link and Brave spat out the error. Well, you know what? Let me give you my configs again, so you guys can go dig them out. Again, I'm not trying to put you off here. I'm trying to get you to do the mining yourself. You know what I'm saying? I want you to go into my configs or Zero's configs or somebody's configs, and I want you to mine out the pieces that are there and figure them out, because there's no way I can cover all of this within this time frame. And you've got lots and lots of time, hours to go out and search and figure out, what does this do? What does this not do? And then you can take those all out. But you know the general approach as to why to use it this way and what it does. This is what allows you to break up. Now links. Yes, let's do links in 5 minutes. Now links, unfortunately, is one of the things that is so, I just sent them to you. The RWXU repo is already public. Yep. So RWXU, oopsie, GitLab.com/RWXU. You can go there. I don't have anything in there right now, but you can do that. Okay, so Links is a terminal-based web browser. It is the web browser that allows me to do searches like this. What is Links? And I can go to search the internet in a few seconds and get an answer. Links is any number of horror species. Well, that's not it, so quit. Let's do another one. Links browser. Okay, let's search for that. Links browser is a customizable text-based browser for cursor adjustable character cells. It is the oldest browser in general use after active development, blah, blah, blah. And then I can go down here and I can find... and I can go through the indentation. What is links? Yeah, a lot of people use new X terminals and stuff, and I find that extremely inefficient. So here we go. There's your X. You can search it all. I'm doing all this browsing, by the way, with one hand and without waiting. So the real secret to efficiency on the terminal is being able to search from the command line. And to be able to do this search from the command line, you now understand what's going on. So the question mark is an alias to a program called duck. And I'm going to give you that program right now. It's not a very complicated program. Give duck. Okay, so now you have the duck program. Give Google. So now you have the Google program, and you know how to put those in your scripts directory because you just learned how, right? And so now all you have to do is go back to our sample, and you can go download those two things, and you can add them to your own system. Now, but the problem is that they're going to use a thing called links, and so I'm actually going to give you my copy of links. So this is links. This goes in your scripts directory, and what it does is it configures stuff properly. And this is a little annoying. I'll tell you right now, links' configuration is pretty involved. And so what this shell script does is it says, if there's a links configuration file, use that. Okay. And so in order to do our links configuration, and we're not even going to go through the config files. They're so ancient and bloated. This is one case where if you can go through it if you want, but you're just going to have to trust me and use this thing. It's taken me years to go through and get it so it has the proper colors and it has VI mode set and a bunch of other things. And so this is one case where you really just want to use the configuration files. Okay. The VIC command is this. So type VIC. It just, all it does is let's actually do this, okay? Here, let me give you another example. We're going to go very close to being over. So let's see, sudo su dash sample. No, you can't. No, it's not a links fork. It's just a wrapper for links program. So it's really easy to screw up links. I might have to do this on its own day. We're out of time. I'm going to get you started, okay? But I'm going to hit links hard tomorrow at the beginning again, because I don't think I'm going to have to remove it. It's way too much to cover in one day. So let's see back into our repos and get to where we're going here. First of all, you need to pull down those links files, and you know how to do that, right? So you remember good old curl. Wait, what are those other things? I don't remember what they are. What are the other ones? Are they scripts? Oh yeah, so there's your I think the last one is the links script. Yep. Okay. So first of all, you have to install links. So if I were you, I would actually make a directory called links. And this is how we're going to do our setup. Okay. So now we have a links directory, cd into links. And then in here, we can put our links.lss and our links.config, which live in these configuration directories, which I can get you right now, or you can go get them out of my directory, which one you want. This needs a good segment. I'm gonna need a full segment on links from now on. But I'm gonna try really hard right now. So if you go into my share, look, let me just share the config with you, right? Because the setup script is even in here. So this is the first case where you might want to have a directory inside of your .files that has a setup script just for that one thing. And in this case, that's what we have. This checks to see if you have links installed and then does all of the changes. So if you wanted to duplicate everything that's in that directory, so you could do that. So if you're to go to my config in this case, and I'm just going to paste it here. And then we're going to go to links, and it does need its own time. I thought we might be pushing it today, but so it's in common. Like, no, it's not. It's right. It needs 8 seconds. That has nothing to do with links. No. That has nothing at all whatsoever. First of all, you went to HTTP instead of HTTPS, if that's true. It's not, yeah. A lot of people keep challenging me on the speed of links, and I'm like, fine. Use your graphics browser. Have fun. So here you go. Here is, I'm going to send you guys this URL. And so this gives you the setup for it. It talks about how to do it. You don't really need to understand the configuration other than to know that it's VI centric and uses colors that have high contrast so that they would work on the stream. Let's see. What else we got? So there you go. And then this is just a little setup script to help you get it set up. The only thing besides that you need is the stuff inside of your aliases. So you need to pull down duck and Let's see. This terminal is not good. All right, so you just need to, inside of your dot files, inside of your scripts directory, you should grab down those, you know, these two things here. So I think the first one is duck, right? Curl. Let's try. What is this one? This is Google. Oh, whoops. Okay, Google. And then what was the other one? Oh, thanks, guys. And then so from here you can like chmod +x Google. But here's your homework. Okay, so I mean I've covered a lot of things today. I mean I've covered a lot of things. I've covered pretty much everything about terminal mastery in a day, and besides VI. And I don't want you to feel like you're ever going to know everything after a 3-hour session. This takes a lifetime to master, but you know enough now to go start. Okay, so my homework for you today, if I were going to give you any, is to just read everything that's here. Let's go ahead and save what we started. Okay, so I'm going to do, remember our good old git commit. Let's say git add dot git commit more scripts, etc. For the commit, and then git push. Okay, so make sure you're saving your stuff after you change it. But the homework is go mess with stuff. Okay, VI all the things, VI your history, VI mode your Vim itself, configure your Vim. Go ahead and start on day one, maniac. Start on day one. Go back and watch the video on YouTube or here for day one. That'll be how you start. And then just start ripping apart everybody's configs, including mine. Start looking at what they have there. Maybe ask other people on the Discord, what are you doing for your config? Because this is, I don't want to rob you of the fun. I don't want to say, do it like I do. I want to share with you a way that I do it so that you can add that to yourself. But if you want to do true terminal mastery, I fully believe that it is a combination of bash, VI, and bash in VI mode, links configured like VI, TMUX configured to use VI bindings, and a number of shell scripts that you've written for yourself, shell scripts and aliases. We didn't cover any kind of functions. I'm kind of glad we skipped that, but all of those things are going to be covered, by the way, in the Learning the Command Line book. So actually, no, the link stuff and the TMUX stuff is not covered there, which is why the aliases and the functions of the bash scripting are covered in the book. But the other little things I've talked about, how to do your own configuration, everything, those are very specific to what I believe is the best way to do terminal mastery. There's lots and lots of varying opinions out there. But I can tell you right now that if you do this, all of your power will go with you no matter where you go. So my links is slower is because it's a single threaded while modern browsers download resources to render the pages in page. Yeah, but it only has one page to render. It's one text file. There's no multiple. There's nothing multiple to download. So no, you shouldn't have to. My GitLab RWXU should be open for anybody. If it's not, I'll go fix it right now. There's only one way to determine long live learning and adoption. We all die before we achieve it. Yeah, you'll see me on my own free time constantly messing with my terminal, making a little thing, customizing it. And I don't want to rob you of all that fun, but I do want to send you down the VI TMUX links path and bash path, as long as you make an informed decision and go down that. If you tell me to go jump in a lake and say, I'm going to use graphics for the rest of my life, I'm so much faster with i3, fine, that's your choice. I just want to make you aware of the options. And there's so many people who don't, like we had somebody today, never seen set-o VI, been using VI his whole life, didn't use set-o to set VI mode for his bash shell. So if there's one goal I have among all the other goals here, it's to let you know that it exists, because if you can't start anywhere if you don't even know it exists, and then you can take it and digest it yourself and process it like a true autodidact. Don't forget to take your notes during all of this and mark down, so you can have them to share and you don't forget, because you will forget a lot of this stuff. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it for today. I'm going to go do my yoga. Get clone. You can do that too. I mean, you would be surprised at the aliases I've seen. I mean, I've seen a lot of really great aliases. And again, if you feel overwhelmed in any sense, please go ahead and check us in the Discord. I keep saying that I'm going to be back online later that night, and last night I just dropped dead after the private sessions. I was so tired. So I possibly will be on tonight if you want to come by and just watch me writing up code for tomorrow's session. And officially I'll be putting links on a different day. But maybe I can just get better doing this quickly, and then you can go ahead and do that instead. Who should we raid? You guys have an idea? You guys, that's not public. I'm going to go do that right now. Looks like links can execute JavaScript. I don't know. It cannot do JavaScript. Links cannot do JavaScript. If that's true, I really want to know. Raid 03. Is he running? He's not live. He always says that. I mean, I don't know. My top link is busted. Oh wow, it's back. How come my top link is back? It was broken before. That's weird. Let's see. Last Miles, is he up? Oh, where is he? Where is Last Miles? Mr. Last Miles. I don't know, man. He's I like him, but he's a little rough to send people to. The other day, I mean, he was streaming some stuff. There's no way I would send a 13-year-old to see, and I have to watch that. Yeah, what does he actually do? I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, I love that about him. I'm personally like it. I'm not comfortable sending 100 and however many people to it. I mean, do we have some small people? Yes. Who we have who's small? I wish this showed everybody. It only shows the top people. So I don't know. Anthony, he's kind of fun too. What logs do you? I don't know these things. Let's see. Wolfram is cool, complicated. Is there somebody who's not a tech streamer? Who has 2 viewers? Okay, let's go surprise him. No, not the chickens. I don't raid the chickens. Can you add my Twitch? 5 viewers. Some pen testing. Okay, that sounds fun. Let's do him. I'm a bash expert. I'm a self-declared bash expert. I would never call myself a bash expert. No matter how much bash I knew. Have you read all 500 pages of the bash man page? Can you do coproc? Do you know what coproc is, Jogger? You ever used it before? Do you know it exists? Do you know how to do bash completion? What does the -C option do for bash completion? You're not an expert. Nobody is. Okay, so I'm just having fun. All right, so let's do this. Let's do, let's see, raid. Yeah. Oh, was he? All right, let's do that. So raid. Yeah, the fact that you just put awk on my screen proves you don't know bash at all. No, sorry, buddy. If you're using awk, you have no concept of how good bash is. You should never use awk if you truly know bash. Sorry, just letting you know. I know a lot of people use awk. You do not need awk with bash ever. A lot of people say they like it, but nope. Nope. I can always do it more efficiently with less subshells. So, I mean, I use awk sometimes too, but awk is a disaster. Awk is more than printing columns. It sure is. And as soon as you need more than printing columns, you need Perl. You don't need awk. Awk is not as good as you think for extracting. Said no. If you're using said, you really don't know bash. Bye-bye. All right. Oh, I did it backwards. Okay, if you've got awk on a machine that doesn't have Perl, maybe. But I guarantee you can split all that stuff with bash faster. So if you have POSIX, look, if you have POSIX, yes. If you have POSIX, yes. Why would you parallelize a single bash process when you can use coproc? Okay. TCL. Oh, TCL is awesome.